All right, y'all, right there is what we're looking for right now. That's a big school of shad. We're gonna try to net us some of those and start catfishing right here by this marina and work our way out of this creek today. So grab your fishing rods, come with me, let's go. I'm gonna get y'all on the chest here. We're gonna grab our net and get to it, buddy. I've got us some bait in the cooler right now, but I wanna try to get us some other bait as well. I'd like to get us, ideally, some thread fins that we can then use to try to get us something else to use as catfish bait today. Maybe some crappie, yellow bass, white bass, whatever. And try to do that while we catfish, because like I said, I do have the other baits to get us started, so we ain't wasting no time today, folks. We're gonna get right after it here. I'm gonna get our net ready and we're gonna find that school again that I just went over. I went all the way to the back of this creek and looked around, and there's just nothing on the graph back there. It's just devoid of life, man. I'm not seeing bait fish, any kind of fish back there. And so I've come back out and got over here by this marina, and I finally started to see some life. I saw that school of shad there that I just showed you on the screen. There were some other fish. Looked like larger marks around it and stuff, so I'm just going to circle back around. We've got our 2D graph here, so we're kind of going to need to get on top of this school to really see them. I'm bringing y'all with me today, unedited, raw and uncut. Y'all going to see everything from right now when I'm going to try to throw this net over some bait to when we roll out of here this afternoon. We got 3 or 4 hours here that we can fish before it starts to get dark and starts to cool off. We got a reasonably comfortable temperature day here in East Tennessee, so we're going to try to make the most of it. I'm on Watts Bar today. Watts Bar Reservoir here of the Tennessee River. And these backwater creeks this time of year can be productive for not only bait, but also catfish. It's just a matter of finding which creeks have the bait and which have the fish, and most of them have bait somewhere in them, but I would have thought today, being a warmer, sunny day, everything would be toward the back of this, but the further I made my way back, the less life there was. So right now we're like 16 feet deep out here. I finally saw them shad, although I don't know where they've gone now. Of course, I turned the camera on, it's run them off. Everything gets camera shot, it seems like, but I'm gonna have y'all here in the chest. We're just gonna take a look around. If we see anything flipping on the surface, we'll certainly throw on those. But we're gonna just make our way up through here till we either see that school again or come across another one. And we come across the next one, I ain't gonna be fiddling around with cameras and whatnot. We're gonna be ready to throw. And then once we do that, like I said, I'm gonna start fishing right here where we're at, and we're just gonna work our way out deeper into this creek today, out toward the main channel. It's a fairly long creek, so I imagine we'll make it out to the entrance before we run out of time today, before we run out of daylight, but it is pretty good length of a creek here. I'm terrible at judging distances, but I mean, it'll take us a while to get out there. And we'll just gradually get deeper as we make our way along. 18 feet here now, we'll be 40 plus once we get out to the entrance of it. Okay, we got something coming up on here. Let me slow down a little bit. All right, you see that right there? Let's see if we can't throw on that. We just passed it under our transducer, so it's gonna throw right here beside us. It's down a few feet, so I'm gonna let that net sink. All right, let's see what we got, if anything. I may not have it lined up properly because we're going right over the top of it and behind it. Yeah, there we go. There we go, folks. That's what we want. Didn't get a lot of them, but that's okay. We don't need a lot. Shake them out, try to get them in the bucket there if I can, and We'll put some water in this bucket. I just want to get us about 2 dozen or so. Try to keep them alive here. There we go. All right, folks, we're in business. Let me grab these that are here on the floor as well. We'll throw them in there, and we're ready to go, man. We'll take them gizzard shad I've got in my cooler, cut them up. We're going to drag those. Let me get us off this dock here. All right. We're going to cut up our gizzard shad, drag those. I'm going to put these on a lighter tackle rod and suspend them as we make our way along. We may get some cats on these, smaller cats. Who knows, you might hook a big cat on these threadfin as well. What I really want to try to hopefully get with these are other fish, and I don't care what. White bass, skipjack, crappie, matters not, anything. I don't care. Just something else, something other, different that we can use for bait, right? So we'll do that, but we're just going to troll. Start right here and make our way out. The creek kind of chokes down up here and makes a bend. We'll go through that, just work our way out to the main channel date, y'all. So again, raw and uncut, unedited. Y'all come with me now. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm just gonna spot lock us right here while we get baited up. Let me fix my rod holders, because we're gonna drag 2 off the back and suspend 2 off the front. Try to anyway. This wind just suddenly picked up, and it's blowing the direction that we want to travel, so that may make controlling our speed a little difficult. We may have to tinker with our speed a little bit today. We may end up dragging a little faster than what I would ideally like, just to kind of stay ahead of the wind, but that's okay if that happens. It's not a huge deal. Let me adjust this rod holder here too. There we go. And we'll get one of these, put up here, and we'll get our lighter tackle rod and put here. This lighter tackle rod is a rod I had bought when I went down on my ocean trip recently to troll barracuda tubes with. It's a ugly stick inshore, 7-foot medium heavy spinning rod, and I've just got 30-pound braid on one of my carp reels, got down to a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I've got 2 small hooks, and I don't know what size these are. They were in a box, I think maybe like 1/0, maybe, but I've got 2 of them tied on up through here, and so we're going to take these little thread fins and we'll put on these hooks and have it suspended down under right here in front of the kayak as we make our way along to complement our larger pieces of cut bait that will be towing behind us. And also too suspended, because I'm gonna have another rod suspended up here on the front. But yeah, I wanted to start here where we're finding the bait, folks. I had in my mind drawn it up that we were going to go to the very back of this creek, find our bait there. Then, and this is a Kentucky rig here basically. You got 2 dropper loops, hooks, and then a sinker on bottom. But I had envisioned in my mind a warmer winter day here with the sun out. It would have these fish, and the bait fish specifically, farther back in this creek. But I was just seeing absolutely nothing back there. So come back out and you finally start running into life again. Now these gizzard shad here are a couple days old. I netted them when I was done with my last trip. So they're not super fresh, but they're fresh enough. So what I'm gonna do is just take a head and a chunk that we will drag behind us, and then we're gonna suspend another head off the front. And once I get these on here, we're gonna take off. We'll set our speed, try to do a ½ mile an hour. If the wind will allow that speed without swinging the back end of the kayak around, we'll do it. I don't have a drift sock with me today, so that's out. So we'll have to either move faster, or hopefully the wind will be cooperative. Seems to be just kind of occasionally gusting. So here's this rig. This is a egg sinker, 8-ounce egg sinker, swivel, 80-pound monofilament to a 10-aught size circle hook, and on the tag end I've got a bait stalker fly from Catfish Sumo. 19 feet deep here where we're starting. The sinker's on bottom, so I'm gonna reel down, raise it up, stick it in there. Let's put the rest of our shad here back in the cooler. My dragging rig, we've got a 3-way swivel, dragging sinker on one side. We got 80-pound monofilament on the other. This is looks like a shorter length here, 3 foot or so. Float, it's a 3-inch peg float, rattle, down to another 10-aught size circle hook. I'm gonna put a gizzard shad head. Y'all remember that the head's on the left, and we're gonna have a chunk on the right. Same rig on this setup, just the only difference being the bait that we'll be using. And depending on how active it is today, we may end up just putting whole shad on there too, if we get on some fish. But if we get on them real good, I don't have a lot of gizzard shad, so we're gonna need to hopefully catch something on that light tackle rod to supplement our bait. Okay. Well, we got all that sorted out. Get my words right. Let's just get ourselves turned. I'm gonna set our speed and we're gonna take off. Push that, now let's start letting that line on our dragging rods here while we get the speed set. Bear with me a second here, folks. We're gonna just hit that button. The cruise control on this remote here with Motor Guide will start you at 1 mile an hour. You can then hit the plus and minus to adjust in 0.1 mile an hour increments. Well, crap, let me try that again, folks. Apparently, I don't know what the hell I done. I must have turned the damn thing off. Nevertheless, we'll get it going here directly. The wind is blowing right now, so this will be a good test for us to see how we're going to be able to do the speed. Okay. Okay, now when the motor settles in, it should be around a ½ mile an hour. Right there, you can see on the graph, there's just some more bait right there too. It seems like the bait is farther out. It's heavily schooled up. Those are thread fins, I would assume. And you'll see that oftentimes here in the winter months. You will have these just massive schools of thread fins, and they'll just be, I mean, so thick, sometimes it'll black your screen out on the graph. And they'll be from the surface all the way down to the bottom, just in these huge, huge schools. And so we'll probably see a lot of that as we go out through here, and I'll certainly point them out to you occasionally as we make our way along. But if the bait is about back in here on the creek and nothing is further on back, there's really no reason, in my opinion, to go on back in this creek to start fishing for catfish, because if they're coming in here to look for bait and all of the bait is out here and possibly farther forward in this creek, well, you know, why they're not going to pass all this bait to go find more bait, right? And I look at where the birds are at, and there are it probably won't show up on camera. And I don't even know what kind of birds they are, but they show up here every year in the winter. They're these white birds, or some of them setting on the water right here. And there goes some flying off down there. But oftentimes, y'all already got snagged right there. Okay, come free. Oftentimes in the winter, you'll see them birds flying around, swooping down the water. They're eating shad. And so if you're having trouble finding bait, you can oftentimes just look up in the sky, see where them birds are at, and they'll tell you where the bait is. Well, I'm not seeing any of those birds from here back. Like there's nothing going on back there in the backwaters. All of the birds, even though they seem to be resting right now, just kind of sitting on the water, where are they sitting on the water at? They're up here. So I think we're making the right play right now, just starting back here. I definitely want to cover some water today. The last trip, well, my last trip out, I was actually, not yesterday, the day before. Okay, so this shad's, I'm having trouble with my math here, folks. Yesterday, the wind knocked me out of fishing. The day before, I got skunked, and the day before that was the last video I filmed. I got those shad at the end of that. So, okay, so they're 3 days old now. So they're at the end of the cycle that I want to be using them anyway. None of that matters. Anyway, the last trip where I had success, the last video I saw, or you all saw here, regular viewers, I done better dragging. 3 out of the 4 fish I caught on that trip was dragging. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna just cover some water, try to put our baits in front of some fish that are either actively feeding or just working their way back into this creek to look for food. And hopefully get them on the move. You know, I like, y'all have heard me talk about this a million times, but I like setting up on spots that fish are gonna work through on their way to feed. I like just kind of trying to get in their way, if you will. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's the most fun way to catch fish in a kayak, in my opinion. But lately, that hasn't been the most productive way to fish. Now, in the last week, hell, I busted 2 really good fish doing that. But I didn't get a whole lot to go with them. It was very limited bites. The 2 big fish I got were big. They were nice. I was happy to have them, but wanting some action too. And so I'm hoping today, I'd been fishing Fort Loudon last week. I'm on Watts Bar today, and I'm hoping we get a little bit more numbers. And I'm hoping the fact that we're on the move is going to get us some more bites in general, since that seems to be the, last week as far as numbers goes, it was it seemed like we were getting a bit more frequently. Something hit that rod, or was it snagged and pulled free? Whatever it is, if it was a fish, it's gone now. Oftentimes when I drag, and I'm just dragging, I will put the rods in these front rod holders, that way I can see them. When I'm fishing 4 rods and I'm suspending 2 and dragging 2, well, you can't do that. So these dragging rods sometimes get hit. And if I don't feel it, I won't know about it. Got one right there. Is that coming through something or something after it? The rod tip was doing that. Might just be coming through something. But either way, when you're fishing like this, you're fishing 4 rods, you got to kind of space things out best you can, and that will prevent you from being able to see your dragging rods when they're behind you. We get a big enough fish, it won't matter, because he's going to spin the whole kayak around. So that'll be the way to fix that problem. Just get y'all to hook into a big fish, right? I'm going to go ahead and lower. Now that we're on the move, we got our speed settled in here. I'm going to go ahead and lower these other 2. I'm actually going to lower this one, get it down near bottom, since that's our bigger piece of cut bait. The other one here, I can see it on the screen. It's about 15 feet deep there. I see them lines. I'm going to leave it where it is, try to keep it maybe up in the water column a little bit. That way, if we do come across, you know, either individual crappie that may be back here, a school of crappie, or a school of white bass, yellow bass, maybe they'll be up a little bit there. It'll just give us some options having baits on bottom and a little higher up. And we'll certainly lower it as we make our way along in here as the depth really starts to change. But right now we're 22 feet and it's going to drop off as we get out through here. Like I said, when we get out to the mouth of this thing, we're going to be around 40 feet. Give or take. It's tough to judge. I haven't been down here in a long time. Definitely not since the water change or the water drop. And okay, right here. Look right over at them birds. You see them? You see them swooping down right there? They're going down. They're hitting the water. There goes some more down. They're eating shad, folks. So we know just looking around, looking at nature. There's a school of shad right over there. And so that's a good indicator, man. Like when you first hit the water, let's say you don't have no electronics. In this kayak here, I've taken my live scope off, so all I have is this basic 2D graph, a little 5-inch screen. And I was able to run around over there by the marina until we saw a school, throw on it, and get us what we need here. But let's say you didn't have that. Let's say you're in a basic kayak or canoe or maybe a small boat of some kind. You don't have any electronics. And you're not seeing shad flipping, like you're not seeing them on the surface. What do? Well, if you got birds around telling you where the bait is, go throw over there. Over there where they were swooping down at, go throw over there. Because I promise you there's not only bait, but there's bait over there near the surface. Those birds aren't going under the water 10 feet deep. They're not like a loon. They're not going to swoop down and swim. They're getting stuff that's on the surface. So that right there tells you, hey, go over there and throw and you can get you some bait. Now, if you don't see those, you kind of got to use just a, I won't say common sense approach, but you may have to throw a little bit, right? Like you may, for instance, if we come out here today and I didn't have a graph, and I wasn't seeing any shad flipping, and I wasn't seeing any birds, what would I do? Well, I would say, okay, I'm in a creek, it's wintertime, it's the afternoon on a sunny day. Is that rod right there got tapped? Well, dink tap. But I would say it's an afternoon on a at least warmer, sunny day. Like, we've got afternoon temps in the 50s, the sun's out. I would go to the back of this thing. Now, based on what I was seeing on the graph, we probably could have thrown back there and not got diddly poo, right? So that probably wouldn't have worked out if we weren't able to see that there wasn't really any life happening back there. And so you might have wasted some time, maybe made some throws, nothing. But I would have just kept making my way out. And in this situation, I'd have probably gone and thrown over by the boat ramp because it is a concrete structure and it's further out in this creek. And I would have also made my way over here to this marina and thrown around it because oftentimes fish are going to hang out. They've got overhead security, if you will, with the marina. They can kind of get up under the walkways and such. Them shad, you take this school that's over here beside us on the right with them birds swooping down. Them shad are vulnerable from top and bottom, right? The predator fish are going to be oftentimes under them and coming up from below, and then you got birds swooping down and getting them from the top. Like they're very vulnerable in that situation. You get over here at these marinas where you've got these walkways and such, it gives them a way to hide, Gives them a little security, at least from the top anyway. So it's something for them. But you'll oftentimes find shad around marinas and whatnot. So I would have come back over there and made some throws. And you know, you get in these creeks and you make enough throws, you're going to get some bait. And most of the time, you know, I'm talking about a hypothetical situation. We show up, no electronics. We're not seeing any activity. We're not seeing any birds. What do? Most of the time, though, you get in these backwaters, you're going to see something. Whether it's shad actively flipping or being chased near the surface, whether it's the birds. Hell, it might just be herons. Here in East Tennessee, we got a good population of these blue herons, and you'll see them sitting on the side of the bank. Those birds, I mean, that's all they do is hunt fish. That's all they do. All day, every day, them herons are looking for food. And so if you see them set up, and oftentimes you'll see 5 or 6 of them in a row on the same shoreline, your bait's over there. That's what they're there, because the bait's there. And so usually that's how you'll be able to find them. It's just looking around, using your eyes, using a little common sense. But if that's not working out, for whatever reason, sometimes you just got to get out and throw and make some throws. And most of the time you're going to find them. Some days you're going to throw your damn shoulder out and really struggle. That's fishing. But most of the time you're going to end up getting you some bait. And out here in this situation today, I just want to start fishing here. We've had some unseasonably warmer afternoon. It ain't warm enough for my liking. I'm a sunny and 75 kind of guy. But we've had some unseasonably warmer afternoons lately. And especially when you get a day like today with the sun out, like, I just have to believe some fish are going to be working up in here into this creek today. And so if we could either go out to the mouth of it and try to cut them off, and we might get bit doing that. We might get a big fish doing that. I mean, even though the bite's been limited lately, when I've gotten bit, I've gotten big fish. But the other opportunity is just come on back up in here and work this creek and fish this creek. And hopefully, as these fish move in, we can get in front of them, or they can pick up on our scent trail with our cut bait. When we get on out here, I mean, back in here, this area back here can be tough to fish, running how we are with 2 rod. We got something happening here. What's this going on our front rod? There it goes. There's this one. No, he hit it, didn't. Just the tease. Little dinkety-doo. But you get back up in here, an area like this, this creek here, it widens out back here. You've got a few branches that go off, one here for the marina, there's another one over here. Of course, you can make your way on back around toward the back of the creek, but it's just wide, it's open. Like, those fish, when they come up in here, they could be anywhere, right? Like, they could be, look at our line right here. He's got it again. And he just let it go again. I didn't even feel him. I looked up. There goes our line. He wants that bait, buddy. But they're going to move back up in here and chase shad, or whatever it is they're after, whether it's a school of white bass or yellow bass, whatever. And of course, those bait fish are going to run from them, right? They're not just going to sit there and get slaughtered. They're going to run and move, and the cats and other predator fish are going to chase them. And so once they get back up in here, they could be literally anywhere. They could be just up along the shoreline, under the dock, under the marina, right out here in the middle. They could be anywhere. And so when you're fishing like we are today, with 2 rods off the back, 2 off the front here, our profile as we're coming through, I mean, our swath of baits isn't very wide, right? Like, I mean, my rods here in the back, they're 7 foot long. We've got a little space in between. So, I mean, we're covering 16, 17 feet distance here through this creek that's, I don't know, a couple hundred yards wide. So we're covering a very small area. We're really trying to almost get lucky in a sense that we pull our baits by some fish, or that they're close enough to pick up on our scent trail. But once we make our way out of here and this creek chokes down a little bit, it gets a lot more narrow, then that kind of goes into our favor a little bit of pulling through and putting our baits in front of them a little bit more easily. I hate planer board fishing with a passion, but situations like we're fishing right now, I think we got one hitting this back rod here. We've had some nips, folks, and that's about the worst thing that can happen to us when you're short on bait, is to get everything chewed up. That's what you don't want to see. It's like either eat it or leave it. Don't sit there and nip at fish. But yeah, I mean, y'all know I hate them planer boards with a passion, but when you're using them planer boards and you can cover a great bigger swath of a creek like this, then you've got better chance of putting your baits in front of them. Is he? No. He's just tugging on it. Hopefully he got enough of it to move on. We don't want that. If that fish right there can't eat that bait and the hook too, we don't want him. We're looking for a little bit bigger fish today. He's on this rod now. He's after that bait. He went from one side to the other. But water temps here, let's see what, I can't see, my screen's dirty. Looks like 50.9 degrees. So water temps kind of held in there around that 50-degree mark this week. Next week, well, tomorrow, weather's supposed to be comfortable again. It's going to be like today, but the wind's supposed to be really bad. It's going to knock me out of fishing. And then the next day, we're supposed to have a pretty good drop in temperatures, and the following week, we're going to have highs around high 30s, low 40s. So, and lows in the 20s again. So it's going to drop these creek temperatures, surface temps, some more. So I'm really hoping we get on something today, man. I've thought all last week when we had the warmer than usual temperatures, I just kept waiting to have a day where it was just like everything clicked, like the bite was just on. And I just never got it. It may have happened, it just didn't happen for me. Okay, that one's hooked up. No, he ain't. I thought that one had it. I want to get a bit. These fish are taunting me. And I expect them to do it to me. I don't know what the hell y'all done to them to be taunting you. Dadgummit. But yeah, I just thought we would have at least one day where we would just whack them, man. Where the bite would just be on, we'd get an unusual number of fish and get some bigger fish too. And I never found it. If it happened, it wasn't happening where I was at, or I wasn't offering what it was that they were looking for. I don't know. He's back on that side. As soon as I turn around, of course, he's gone. It's probably the same daggone fish. Try to turn us here a little bit too. The wind is blowing out of this creek, and so it's kind of got us sideways here a little bit. Kayaks always want to turn into the wind, and that motor is going to adjust, well, in theory anyway, adjust for the speed. So we got it set to 0.5. It's going to speed up if you're going into the wind, right? So you get a gust of wind blowing in your face that slows you down, motor's going to speed up, compensate for it, and slow down when it needs to. And what happens is when you get a tailwind that's pushing you, the motor slows down to try to compensate for that. And then because the kayak's natural tendency is just to spin into the wind, you end up sideways. And so two things you can do in this situation. You can either throw out a drift sock behind you to create some resistance. That way when the wind blows you, it can't blow you so fast that the motor's not going to be able to compensate and keep you straight. That's the easy thing to do if you had a drift sock, which I don't have with me. The other thing you can do is just speed up. Now, there's limitations on that, obviously. Is this one going to stay hooked up this time? Let's see if he'll stay hooked up. Can we get our first fish, please? He's hit this bait 37 times. He's hooked up on it for now. How far are we into this, man? We're 30-something minutes in. Part of that time was getting bait and getting rigged up, though. I'll cut myself a little slack because we did spend a little time throwing the net and cutting baits and baiting hooks and all that. So we got bit fairly soon after starting fishing here with lines in. Well, we've been getting bit, but you know what I mean. Actually get a solid hookup. He ain't gonna be very big, but it's a start. It's at least a bite. All right, fish, let's see. Let's get a look at you here, see what you are. Oh, tiny blue cat. We need one today 50 plus pounds bigger than this one, folks. I'm gonna need y'all to catch bigger fish than this today. Thankfully left the bait on though. We can take a look at it, see what it looks like here. We may end up switching it out. Yeah, just old tiny blue cat. It still looks good. I'm gonna switch it out. I've actually got another head cut in here because when I first got on the water today, I had to get I dropped that thing. It's a good thing I dropped it. Where the hell did it go? It's a good thing I dropped, oh, there it is. Good thing I dropped it inside the kayak, huh? When I first got in the water today, though, I had to get me a thumbnail for the last video. And so I'd cut this shad for that. And so we already got one cut here, and we'll just switch him out with that other one, since that other one been hit so many times and was looking kind of puny. All right. Yeah, let's see what we can do here with the wind. Like I said, it's easier, throw out a drift sock. But if you can't do that, the other thing you can do is speed up. Might be a little faster than what I want to go, but at least it'll keep you straight and go in the right direction. Or, really the easiest way to control your speed is to go into the wind. I thought we'd start fishing right here where we're at. That way we can be most efficient with our time, you know, versus netting those shad, making a run out to the entrance of this thing and fishing our way back. The wind just keeps gusting right now. It's not blowing hard today. Like, it's not going to be a blowout kind of day. Now, tomorrow's supposed to be. It's supposed to be really high wind, 30, 40 mile an hour gusts tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to be fishing at all tomorrow. But today's not supposed to be like that, but it is a, look right over here. Look at all them birds right there. There's a school of shad right over there. I don't know what them birds are called. you see them swooping down every which way, you know there's some shad there. They seem to only show up in the winter. Winter and early spring. All right, I'm gonna flip our bail over here on this rod here. We're not gonna run these things super long distances behind us, especially now as we're getting on out into some deeper water. I'm gonna lower this bait down a little bit. If we were fishing real shallow, I mean like less than 10 feet deep, let's say, and then I would run these things farther behind me, because any fish that we run across, we might be potentially spooking. But here, 24 feet, I mean, I'm not very concerned about it. We got enough distance between us. Nope. I think something hit that front rod after I lowered it down. I'm watching the birds over here. They're flying around. I'm trying not to get them crap on my head. I don't care how many fish we catch a day. If a bird takes a dump on our head, we're having a bad day. I really honestly thought our light tackle rod would be getting a little bit more attention by now. I mean, I know we've only been fishing a few minutes, but I really thought something, and right there, something did come up. And look, see that right there? Those solid lines is this rod. There was a fish that come up to it. There's a couple more on bottom. I may lower that thing down a little bit. Let me just put it down there near bottom. One of the things I'm going to do at some point in the near future, when we take out the Hobie Lynx kayak again, I've got a new rod holder mount on that thing. I'm going to try it out at some point here in the near future. I'm semi-optimistic it's going to be a better solution than what I've tried thus far, as far as having a secure rod holder setup on it. But one of the things I want to do is take that light action rod and rig us up a smaller dragging rig, more of a light action dragging rig. And it may be the dumbest thing I've ever done, but we'll try it and see. It may end up being a lot of fun too. We're just going to have to get out there and play with it and try. I'm going to be going to Florida. I actually thought about bringing the Lynx today, but I'm like, I'm going to Florida again here very soon. I'm going to be down there in the Lynx pedaling it for that. So I thought I'm going to go ahead and bring up the motorized kayak again today, especially since I wanted to kind of work a creek and troll a little bit. I could do my speed a little better. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, the light tackle rod. We just lowered it down and boom. Boy, something's a-pulling, whatever's got it. You never know what's going to hit. I mean, anything will eat them tiny threadfin shad. As the wind gusts here and gets us all sideways, I feel him up. Okay, it's a cat. Blue cat. Blue cat, I'm fine with you eating them shad, but I sure was hoping for something that we could cut up. I wasn't sure what it was when he hit it, but he nailed it, didn't he? He buried this. It's a lighter tackle rod. Yes, it's medium heavy, but you know, being an inshore rod, it's still lighter action than my medium heavy catfish rods. All of these actions are relative to the type of rod that you are fishing with, of course. I can't get that hook out, y'all. Let me get to... It hooked him where it was supposed to, but I can't get the thing out. There we go. All right, well, another tiny blue. We got something on this back rod now. Has he got it? Yeah, he does. We're double. Well, we ain't double now. I didn't let the other one go. but we got one on. This was our chunk of shad that we were dragging. We've gone through some fish, I reckon. That was fun when that light rod went down though, wasn't it? He buried that thing. Imagine if we hooked into a 40, 50 pounder. It's gonna be an ordeal to get him in. And we might, just because we're using tiny shad don't mean you're gonna catch tiny fish. I mean, you've maybe had it happen to you. If not, you've probably talked to somebody who has, but I've talked to crappie fishermen before that told me about stories of huge flatheads they've caught on 6-pound line and a minnow while they're crappie fishing. I mean, it happens. And especially you get in this time of year when fish are coming back in these creeks, well, what is a food source that's readily available for them? Threadfin shad. All right, Blue Kenny, you're another dinkity doodah. I'm gonna reuse this bait though. It actually, there he is, tiny old thing. I'm just gonna rehook this bait and throw it back out. It still looks to be pretty good shape. All right, let me start letting out some line on it while we rebait over here. And I think what we'll do, well, I just knocked that other shad off the bottom hook. So I guess we're gonna put another shad on both of them regardless. My bucket here, it's just a 5-gallon bucket. These shad aren't going to live too terribly long in there with no aeration or filtration, but they will last long enough for our needs. And I mean, if we really got on a hot bite or something on the thread fin and was like burning through them, it ain't that big a deal to just go get us some more thread fin. Like we can easily get more. Just putting that up under their gills, out to nose there. All right, let's send that thing back down, folks. That was fun. That if we're going to catch small fish, at least do it on lighter tackle, right? Okay, we got that reset. Well, folks, it ain't been nothing exciting yet, but that's 3 fish nonetheless. We're getting some numbers here. We just got to find some quality. And it could happen at any time. You just never know when the big one's coming through, or when you're going to pull your bait in front of the big one, which is obviously what we're hoping to do today. But yeah, I'm going to be going back down to Florida very soon. Taking the links with me again. I'm going to go back down to the key. Look right here on this front rod, the light tackle rod. Something was after it. Something may have hit that. One of them shad too. It may have ripped them off. We'll leave it down there a minute, see if he comes back for it. If not, we may reel it up and check it, make sure we still got bait on there. Them thread fins are easily pulled off, so. Okay, he's back after it again. Look right there. Them shad ain't working that rod tip like that, folks. We got something. Tighten that drag just a little bit. Don't let me forget to flip this bail over here on this other rod too. Let's see what this is. Oh, nice crappie right there, folks. Nice crappie. We'll take that. Look at old One Eye here. His eye's messed up. Nice crappie, folks. All right, we just got us some more bait. This eye looks good. This eye, he's blind in that eye, folks, but he found him an old shad, didn't he? Let me just set him there a second. Boy, he ain't flopping around at all. Maybe barrow trauma. I mean, well, we brought him up kind of deep. That bait was near bottom. Either way, let's set him there a second. We're going to put him on. We're going to put him on, folks. We're going to use him. I did not bring a measuring board to measure him. He's got to be 10 inches to keep, but I can look at that thing and tell you he's 10 inches. Okay. All right, nice crappie right there. I knew when that rod tip was just over a little bit, I'm like, there's no way a shad is taking that rod tip over. This is a lighter action rod, but not, it ain't that light. You know what I mean? Like there's light and then there's light, and it ain't that light. This thing must be barrow trauma. His gills are flapping a little bit, but like he's not, his gills are barely moving, but he's not like, he's not flopping, he's not fighting. It's weird. That eye's weird too. All right, let me get my knife here, folks. We're going to switch out. I'm going to put, well, we may actually be about to reel one in. Something hit that. Well, he's gone now. That's fine. We're gonna switch that out anyway. Let's put this crappie head on one of them. Y'all turn away while I cut the crappie up. And again, before I cut him here, folks, okay, look, I know I don't have a measuring board, but my God, here's my hand. Here he is coming up my arm here, okay? He's not moving at all. I've had crappie I've caught deep do that a little bit, but like he's just in shock. I get it. But you can see he's well over 10 inches, folks. Like we're not violating any laws here, cutting this thing up. Y'all look away while I cut him. Yeah, he was barrow trauma. I heard him when I cut through him there. I heard it release. I may actually, let me tell you what I may do. Because this is good and fresh, and because our gizzard shad is a few days old, I think I'm going to switch out both baits on the dragging rods. We'll do a head and a chunk of crappie. And then we'll leave our suspended rod up front on the left. We'll leave it with the gizzard shad on for now. I can't cut through that daggone fin, man. I gotta get my scissors, pliers, something here. I keep meaning to switch out my knife. It's about had it. Or sharpen it one. I don't usually sharpen knives because these things are $1 at the store, so I just usually get another one. Okay. Yeah, we'll just upgrade our dragging baits here, folks. You know, a little bit of an upgrade. I would much rather have fresh crappie than 3-day-old gizzard shad. And I'm going to hook this crappie. You can see how this one, especially because he was bigger, it's like a triangle shape here. So if I hook him through the mouth, the fish is going to have to eat him, and it's just, I'd rather in this situation with a crappie this big and a head go in through like this. I feel like you get better hookups in this situation. Now, usually you lose the head on the first fish you catch versus having it up under their gills and out the nose. You can oftentimes get 2 or 3 fish. on one head bait. But I'd rather sacrifice that and us. Have I got a fish on here? Or am I pulling something in if I snag something? We're pulling something in here, folks. This don't feel right. I don't know what this is. Maybe my bait's just foul hooked. I think my bait's foul hooked. I'm like, I feel a little resistance, but it ain't pulling back. My bait was foul hooked, is what it was. Good thing we checked that. All right, let's put this hunk of crappie on there. There we go. Okay. Well, we've got options now, folks. We've got crappie head, crappie chunk, gizzard shad head, and threadfin shad. We've got multiple sizes, multiple cuts, multiple species of baits. We got it all going for us. Let's, I'm gonna let out just a little bit more line on the one on the left. Take our crappie tail here, we'll stick it down there. Got to be 10 inches to use here in Tennessee. Again, I don't have a measuring board to verify that, but common sense will say, you know, I'm 6'1", you know how long my arms are, and you can see where his tail was at on my fingertips and how far up my arm he went. What's going on with my rod tip right there? Like my line, I feel like have we got something on? Well, I guess my line was just, I thought there might have been a fish had the bait was running with it or something. Let's let out some more line on that. I'm gonna flip this bail over on the other side on our head bait. Okay. I've been distracted. Let me just make sure we still have some thread fin on here. Okay, we do, good. Send that back down. Just wanted to make sure I was distracted. It'd been terrible if them things got ripped off and we didn't know about it. And okay. We'll flip that bail over. Let's take a look at this, our gizzard shad head, and see. Tell you what, let's go ahead and just switch it out while we're at it. I'll put on some more shad, certainly. That way we continue on having options, but I want to at least spruce it up a bit. Because how long have we been at this now? We've been at it almost an hour. Yeah, so let's go ahead and switch that bait out. Maybe we'll put this chunk on there. We'll put that chunk on from one of them other shad heads that we cut. All right, folks, we're moving right along here. We're getting some options. We got a few small cats, a crappie that literally played dead in a sense. That thing just quit, man. I mean, I've had some crappie when I got the live scope there and had worked some really deep brush and pulled them up from like 40 feet deep and deeper and stuff like that. You get the barotrauma, like they're all expanded and they go belly up as soon as if you try to keep them alive or anything, they go belly up on you. But that one there, he wasn't pulled up from very deep. I mean, like 25 feet, I guess, 24, 25 feet. But I mean, you saw him, hell, he was just done for. He flopped more after I'd cut him. Because when I went to cut his head, I heard I guess it's the swim bladder there that just gets, it gets expanded from bringing them up too fast. And so I heard it, and then after I cut the head, that's when the rest of him started flopping a little bit. But it don't really matter. We wasn't necessarily looking to catch him for the fun of the fight. We were looking to catch him so that we could use him as bait and have the fun of the fight on something significantly bigger. So that worked out at least. But we caught him, though. I had lowered that thread fin rod down near bottom. So, I mean, like, he was just off bottom. Or maybe laying on bottom, possibly. So crappie usually feed up, my understanding anyway. I'm certainly not a crappie expert. But from the videos I've watched, podcasts I've listened to and stuff, it seems like most everybody's consensus is that crappie feed up. The way their head is, the way their eyes set on their body, they feed upward. And so he must have been on bottom there. I'd lowered them baits down thinking maybe we might get on some yellow bass or white bass through here. But hey, don't matter to me. I just needed something to spruce up our offerings, and we got it. Plus, the rest of him there I've got on the floor, we can use him too. Cut off another big sliver of him. Crappie fish, I'm gonna tear my ass up over it too. Oh, fish. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Thread fin. Boy, when you see the takedown of this lighter action rod, that's exciting, man. Even though it don't take a big fish at all to do it, it's really exciting. I think it's going to be a cat. Thought I felt him rolling. He got in our other front line over there too. Yep, another cat. And he is for sure in our front line. Oh, dang it. Why'd you have to get in that front line, kitty? Okay. Let's get you out of that. I don't know what you've done. There it goes. There goes the other line. Okay, now we got him. There we go, folks. Another dink blue. Been a day of the dinks as far as the catfish go thus far, but hey, it's a start, man. There's been some days lately we can't even, I mean, hell, the last trip out, completely skunked, man. Couldn't even get one of those. So, you ain't gonna hear me complaining about it today. Maybe in the warmer months when I can get that kind of fish right there all day, every day, you'll hear me complaining when I want them to leave me alone so that I can hopefully have a big fish come along and eat my bait. But today, I'm fine with getting whatever it is that we get. I just want some bites today, man. I'll go ahead and switch that shad out right there too. Well, if I can get hold of him. Slippery little suckers. We could have a lot of fun doing this right here, man. Go out. This would be the ideal thing probably to do in my Hobie Lynx to test those new rod holder setup I got, is go out with 2 lighter action rods and some thread fin and let those fish take down the rods and rod holders, really test them like that before we go out with the heavier tackle stuff and then potentially hook a monster and have the whole thing get ripped off. That'll make for a hell of a video, I guess, but I ain't trying to lose no gear if I can help it. This wind's blowing a little too fast again. It's got us sideways going through here. maybe, just maybe, when we get out, because we're almost up here now to where this creek chokes down and makes a little bend, maybe the way it's blowing, maybe we'll be protected from it a little more once we get on up through here. If we ain't, I guess it's not the end of the world, because once we get out to the main channel, we'll have to make a decision. Do we want to work our way back into the creek again, or do we want to get out in the channel and keep going? And that's TBD, to be determined. We'll see how we do the rest of the way in this creek. If we keep getting bit with small fish, maybe we get out there in the main channel and just keep going, see if we can find something a little bigger. Look right here. We got another one on the light tackle. I think it might be another cat too. I think it's another kitty. This is actually a pretty fun rod to fish with right here, folks, for this size of cat. Again, this is a ugly stick. Yeah, another blue cat. This is a ugly stick inshore select medium heavy. And I got it just to throw or really troll the barracuda tubes. Dude's over there taking off. Here comes some more. They wearing all orange. I guess they going hunting or something. There we go. Let's get rid of him. Old tiny blue cat. Oh, dinkity doo-dah. Those are the type of fish right there that'll chew up your larger baits and just shred them to smithereens. But anyway, this rod, I got it there in Florida. I went to the Bass Pro because I wanted a heavier action spinning rod to throw that tube with. And I've got my carp rods, which are Catfish Sumo chopstick rods. They're a lighter action catfish rod. But the tips on the Catfish Sumo chopstick rods are kind of soft, like they're very limber. And that's great for carp fishing. It's great for detecting light bites if you've got baits, like say you're fishing for catfish and you got your baits cast out and you're watching your rod tips and you got light bites or something. It's great for that. But for what I was wanting for trolling them big tubes for the barracuda, I needed something with a little bit more stiffness, if you will, on the tip, and maybe a little bit more power, I guess, throughout the rod. And so anyway, I went to Bass Pro down there in Florida. I can't remember which one it was. It was Danica Beach, maybe. It's on down there in South Florida. There's a big Bass Pro. And I went in and looked around, and of course they had rods ranging from, that ugly stick there was like one of the cheapest. I think it was $59 or maybe $69, I can't remember. But rods ranging from that all the way up to a few $100s, of course. And I said, well, hell, I just need something. I don't need a fancy rod, you know. If I'm paying a lot of money for a rod, I'm going to pay for something either like my ultralight rod, where I need to be able to feel light bites, or something like that. You know, I'm not going to pay $300 for a rod that I'm going to troll with. And so I just got the cheap one there, the ugly stick. But I didn't do any good trolling the tubes down there. And I caught some barracuda, but I didn't catch them on that. Oh, something hit our left rod. Smacked it. So I didn't really know what to think about that rod because I didn't do any good with it. But getting it home here and fishing with it around here now. We've caught a little bit with it while we've been out on catfish trips, just using these thread fins. And I got to tell you, it's, for that size of cat, it's a lot of fun. Now, when we hook into a monster, it may take a while to get it in. We may have that thing literally doubled over at the handle, but that'll be a good time too. In hindsight, maybe I should have got that's the medium heavy. In hindsight, maybe I should have got the heavy action. It's hard to tell when you're just holding that rod in the store. I mean, you can do what every fisherman does, is sit there and hold it and shake it. And you can take your hand and bend the rod tip down, but it's tough to know. Until you get a fish on, it's tough to know what a rod's really going to feel like and how it's going to act and stuff. But, you know, the way we've set up here today, just fishing with down lines directly under us, when them fish take that rod over, even them smaller blues, like it's fun. I mean, I almost hope if we do hook a big one today, I hope it comes on that light action rod. I hope it does. It may take us all day to get it in, but we're going to have a hell of a battle. We're going to have a lot of fun in the process. I've talked about down there, when I was in Florida, I talked about maybe getting a spinning rod to do the shark fishing with. And we're going to get one right here. Another one on the light tackle. I think it's going to be, yep, another cat. Well, if nothing else, maybe these cats that we're coming across here, these small ones eating our thread fins, are leaving our bigger baits alone so that they're not getting all chewed up and everything before we can put them in front of a big fish. That's a positive in addition to just getting some action. All right, Blue Kitty, you go down there and go get big for us. I'm trying to grab one there and grab this thing. I don't have to use the net. Okay. Back down it goes. Yeah, that's in the catfish world, we call that a Kentucky rig. Some people call it like a drop shot rig. Either way, a couple hooks on a dropper loop. Here in Tennessee, we can have 3 hooks per line. I just got 2 on. So it's possible we could hook up with 2 fish at the same time. There's that crappie getting messed with. That was the chunk. Something was tugging on it. You let it go. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking about getting a spinning rod for the shark fishing. And a couple of people said, well, Justin, if you do that, you need to get you a bait runner reel for it. And right up, what's that up there? Is that a loon or is that fish running? Something was splashing there. I bought one of them bait runner reels for carp fishing back 2 or 3 years ago, and I kind of started to get more serious about carp fishing. And I just don't like them things, man. They're good in theory, right? Like they're a spinning reel that you can put in free spool mode so a fish can run with your bait, and then you flip that lever and you've got your drag set to whatever you want it to. They're good in theory. But what I don't like about them reels is that they're very heavy, they're very bulky, and you have to get a really large one to be able to have any line capacity. So just for instance, me wanting to use one for shark fishing, I'm probably going to have a 8,000 size reel. Because you look at the bait runners for, like, take the 6,000 size, hell, you don't hardly have any line capacity. And then you start going up to the 8,000 size and get one of decent quality, hell, you're $200–300. And I'm like, you know, maybe I'll just stick with what I've got. My bait caster setups, because those work well and I like those. And I did, when I got back home from Florida this past time, I took my rods and I used them Catfish Sumo Elite 150 rods when I'm down there shark fishing, because they're a catfish rod, but they're really, really heavy duty. I mean, like way heavier rod than what I would ever want to use for catfishing, at least for the size of the catfish that I catch. I mean, I guess if you were trophy hunting and you had opportunities for 75, 100-pound fish, those Elite 150s would be ideal for you, right? But boom, boom, another one. Boy, this light tackle rod, man, we're getting eat up right here. You're after them. Oh, that's Channel Cat there. That bait wasn't for you, Channel Cat. You're never welcome in any circumstances here, Channel Cat, unless I go to specifically catch you at like Sandusky Bay or somewhere that has Channel Cats worth catching. You are never welcome to my bait, Channel Cat. Never. They're all over these thread fins, though. We're liable to hook something else there, too. We might get striper, bass, anything on this thread fin. Man, I got that net. Actually, I think the fish done it. Got the hook in that net there, my cast net. Bear with me a second here, folks. There it comes. Okay. Well, now I've got this wrapped around. He got us all tangled up every which way, didn't he? That old Channel Cat. If I told y'all how bad I hate Channel Cats. They steal your bait, they wreck everything. Let's throw them dead ones right there out before they change the pH there. All right, back down it goes. Let's catch some more. Even the Channel Cat took the rod down all nice and fun and everything till we realized what he was. But yeah, when I got back home from Florida this last time, I took my Elite 150 rods and I cut the handles of them off, or cut them down. I didn't cut them off, but I cut them down. Because them Elite 150 rods, they're made like a standard length catfish rod for people basically who are fishing out of a boat or off the bank and you're standing up fighting fish, so you've got a longer butt handle. Well, these rods, my signature series Gollywhopper rods, if you notice, they've got the shorter handle here, and that's for a reason. We made those short. Now you can extend these. There's an extension piece that you can screw in if you're fishing off the bank or a boat. But the short handle is nice because when you are sitting down, which you're mostly doing in a kayak, and you're fighting fish, that short handle allows you to bring the rod closer to your body. When you're fighting fish, it's more comfortable. And that's not a huge deal if you're catching a catfish here and there. But if you're on a good bite and you're catching 20 fish in a day and your arm's extended way out like this the whole time, every time you're reeling them in, it gets to be a little bit tiresome, right? Because it's not good ergonomics. It's just not good body mechanics. And so being down there in the ocean, you're battling them sharks. It's oftentimes an extended fight, especially if you're hooked up with a big one. And I had those long butt ends on those rods because they're, again, designed for standing up, fighting a fish. And so I messaged Daniel, the owner of Catfish Sumo there. He's a friend of mine. I messaged him when I got home. And I said, Daniel, I like these rods for shark fishing, but I don't like the handles. I'm going to cut them off. I said, do you have any of them butt ends for the rods, like that they put on the ends of them? I said, I'm going to cut off about 6 or 8 inches of it and put one of them butt ends on there and glue it in place. He said, yeah, I'll send you some. So he mailed me some of them butt ends, and so I just took a hacksaw and cut off I don't remember how much I cut. What I did is I held the Elite 150 rods up to my kayak rods here and found where the butt end ended on here and made a mark, and then I cut that off there on them Elite 150. So it's going to be a lot better for me to use, a lot more comfortable for me to use when I go down to Florida again here. So I'm looking forward to trying them out in that situation. I think it's going to be a lot more comfortable, a lot more, just a lot better body mechanics. But I do think I'm going to hold off on getting a spinning rod and reel combo for sharks for now, just because it's just an extra expense for something I'm not going to get to use but a couple times a year, and I really don't want to do the damn bait runner reels. Again, I like the concept of them. I think it's a great idea. But in reality, when you have to have a reel that's significantly heavier and bulkier and more expensive to be able to do it, and I'm like, I can just turn the drag with my hand. It's not that big a deal. I do it with carp fishing all the time. I mean, I know all those European carp people, they're big on those bait runner reels. But me, I cast my carp baits out. I turn my reel drag way down. When the fish hits and starts running, I turn my drag up throughout the fight. Like, it's not, maybe it's just because I'm used to it, but it's not a big deal to me. So I'm going to just do that for now with the sharks. I'm definitely going to try to catch some more while I'm down there. I'm probably going to spend most of my time down there trying to shark fish and hopefully get on more of those black tips. One of the things I've done with my Hobie Lynx, and y'all will see this the next time I take it out on video, which may be in the ocean depending on weather and how fishing goes and all that leading up to my trip. But that rod holder system that I've put on the front, I've done the same thing to the back, and I've added a boat cleat. That way I can hopefully anchor. Now, I don't know how smart or safe it's going to be to anchor the Lynx, but we're going to try it. And what I was kind of thinking was, you get up there on top of one of them flats down there in the ocean, and right on the edge, and you pick whichever side the current or the wind or whatever is going. That way, when let's say you set up here, let's say the edge of the flat is here and it drops off here, right? You set up here and maybe the wind's blowing or the current's going this way, so that when you set up here, you can let your bait drift back off the edge of that ledge and have you're sitting here and your bait's sitting here. That's what I want to do. And then let that current take your scent. That's what I want to try. Now, I don't know how safe that's going to be, but we're going to try it. If it works out, it's going to save me a lot of energy from pedaling, because I mean, when you're fighting that current all day out there, it gets a little tiresome. It got a little tiresome for me, buddy. Well, it's fun though. Man, it's fun. There's so much anticipation, I guess. It's kind of like, in a different way. Oh, something hit us back here on a crappie. But it's kind of the same way, but yet still slightly different. When I'm ultralight fishing, let's say I'm ultralight fishing, I'm throwing that gulp minnow, right? Every time I make a cast, there's an anticipation that I'm going to catch fish, but I don't know what it's going to be. It could be bluegill, it could be crappie, bass, catfish, drum, skipjack. I mean, you just never know, right? Like, there's an anticipation. Like, I just don't know what's going to happen. And it's like that too out in the ocean. You throw a piece of cut bait or a live bait out there, literally anything could snatch it up. I mean, anything. You just don't know until that rod goes down. And so there's some excitement with it. Now in the ocean, it's certainly it's more exciting for me. I don't know if it's because of the fact that it could be something really big, like a shark, or just the fact that my experience is so limited in the ocean that there's still the novelty of it to me, right? Like I've done it so little, it's still new to me. But it's exciting, man. It's fun, it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to getting back down there. It's become kind of a yearly trip for me, but this year my ocean video's done so well, just view count wise. I had 8 videos from the Florida trip. Now 3 of them were freshwater. I filmed 2 freshwater ones on the mainland of Florida on the way down and 1 on the way back. And I had 5 ocean videos. Of the 5 ocean videos, as of me filming this right now, 3 of them are over 100,000 views. 1 of them is about to hit 100,000, and 1 of them was like, the worst performing one was like 80-something thousand. So they got a lot of views, surprisingly, to be kind of off-brand for my channel, if you will. And so it's given me the excuse to go back, folks. Bottom line, it's given me an excuse to go back. So I was supposed to go down and fish with Brandon from the Fins and Talons YouTube channel on the Crystal River. His folks got a house. They live close to the Crystal River. And I was going to be able to stay with him and go down there and fish and all that. Well, the weather forecast, and of course this is subject to change because this is still several days out, but the current forecast is calling it to be like highs in the 50s there on the Crystal River. And I'm like, if I'm driving all the way down to Florida, by God, it better be at least sunny and 75, right? Like, that's what I'm looking for. And so I told Brandon, I'm like, look, if the forecast stays the same, I'm just going to keep going. Like, I'm going to go on down, because I had the opportunity to stay with him that whole week he's going to be there, but there's a timeshare rental group I'm in. I don't own a timeshare, but a lot of people, I'm in this group where a lot of people rent their timeshares. And I got somebody's week there. They had a medical emergency come up and couldn't go. And so, you know, short notice like that, they need rid of it. And so they sold me the week for $950 for that's 7 nights down there in the Keys, which is a fantastic price, especially with the property being as nice as it is. Because this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, a living room, dining room, kitchen, the whole 9 yards. You got laundry, which is a very underrated thing, but you got water hose right there where you park at. There's a water hose and spigot, so you can spray everything off when you get back from fishing all day. Like, that's awesome, man. And it's right there in Isla Mirada, which it's a perfect location down there in the Keys. I love it down there. And so anyway, I booked that. Oh. No, let it go. Another dink. If he'd go over there and hit this lighter tackle rod, he'd actually be able to eat it. We're all cattywampus coming out of here, man. The wind is pushing us such a way. We're sideways, but we're rolling with it. Our baits are still dragging behind us, or beside us over here. And we're going to roll with it. I'd hoped that we would be... What's going on over here with our piece of crappie now? I'd hoped we'd be shielded when we come through this little choke point here, but no such luck right now. If we decide to come back through this creek, it won't be a problem because we'll be going into the wind. But right now, it's a bit of a nuisance. But anyway, yeah, if it stays how it is now, I'm not going to be going to the Crystal River, but I am going to go on down to the Keys. And I think Brandon and his friend Jeremiah from Ohio, he is going to go with him, and I think they're going to just stay with me down there down in the Keys. I think that's going to be the plan, because they have to leave midweek there to go back to Ohio. And my girlfriend couldn't get the whole week off to go with me from her job. She couldn't do it. She got half the week. So what she's going to do is fly down Wednesday afternoon. I'm going to drive back up to Miami, pick her up. And she's going to be down there in the Keys with me Thursday and Friday of that week. And then I have to check out of this place on Saturday. And so I'm going to drive back up, drop her off at the airport there in Miami. And then I may fish possibly somewhere around there, either in the Everglades or maybe Lake Ida again, somewhere up there. Weather dependent, of course, before I drive back. And some of you probably say, well, Justin, why the hell would your girlfriend want to just fly down for 2 days? It's cheap, folks. Her airplane ticket, it's a direct flight from Knoxville to Miami. It was $127 for the round trip. And that was like after taxes, fees, and everything. $127. Like that's worth it. Yeah, it is a little bit of a drive, certainly, for me to go pick her up at the airport. It's not bad going back on the Saturday, because I'm going to be heading home anyway. I got to go right by there. But, you know, I think it's like an hour and a half, something like that, to drive up and get her, hour and a half back. So a little bit of a haul to go get her. I certainly wish she could go all week, because it's more fun. I mean, I'm going to have fun fishing on my own, but it's more fun, other activities with her, and there's a lot more stuff we can do, her and I, when I'm not fishing. But she just couldn't get the whole week off. She had just got that week off, well, partial week there. We went on Thanksgiving week before, so she had taken off a few days, and then she had the Thursday and Friday off for Thanksgiving when we had gone down there previously. But still, she had just taken some vacation time, so it's hard to turn around and take it again, apparently. I told her, I said, it don't make no damn sense to me. You've got that vacation time accumulated. You ought to be able to take it whenever you damn well see fit. I'm like, they clearly don't value you very much, because every time it's time for a raise, you're lucky to get 1 or 2%, whatever it is they're doling out on a particular year. Like, it don't seem like you're very well valued. So, so by God, you earn that vacation time. Take it. And my girlfriend, she's worked there her entire life. Just kept climbing up the ladder, you know. She worked there. Hell, she worked there while she was in college, and it's just carried on, one job to the next up there. Oh, better take. No, he let it go. I thought that was going to be a better fish right there. Now we're snagged. Let's let a little slack out. I'm going to see if we can just pick up and go right over it. Oh, we're not. We're in it. Ah, crap. All right, folks, hang on a second. We'll go back and try to get that. Let me reel in these other lines here. Let's see if we can pop that thing free. Dadgummit. We was due for a snag. We went through this little turn here in this creek, and the old creek channel's kind of tight through there, and it's possible somebody's put some brush, or there could be just a log or anything that has settled there too, potentially. But these crappie fishermen, you know, a lot of them certainly put in brush piles and crappie structures and all of that to basically be fish attractors and whatnot, and you try dragging through them, and well, you're asking for it, folks. All right, let's see what we can do here. Try to get it back if possible. Only because I'm cheap and I don't like breaking off. Hopefully we get behind it here, it'll pop right out. This wind is still blowing pretty good out here. There it comes. This wind is still blowing more than I would like. Here's kind of what I'm thinking, folks. You can see where we're at out here in this creek. Like, we're getting out here closer to the entrance of it. Kind of what I think I want to do. And this is, y'all put your own input in here. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I think I want to just run out here to the mouth of this thing and sit there a minute or 30 and see what's going on. And then if we're catching fish out there, great. If not, we'll turn around and we'll drag our way back into this creek, but we will be going into the wind so we can better control our speed. Right, like it'll be easier. We won't be sideways the whole time coming out this creek like we have been, or going back into it like we have been coming out of it. So let's do that. I'll show you on the graph out here what it looks like, because the actual mouth of the creek is different than what it appears because of how the creek was before they made the reservoir. Once they flooded this, after they built the dams, well, everything changed, right? The water came up, and now what looks like the entrance to this creek right here where the land stops is actually not the entrance of the creek. It is now, but it wasn't back in the day. So we'll just run out here right quick. Hey, while I'm running out here, what's going on over here? Thought I heard something. May have eye in the sky up there watching us and eavesdropping on us. But anyway, folks, while we're running out here, again, we got just a little ways to go before we get out here. And again, I'm gonna show you on the graph what everything looks like. But got some bills to pay here, folks. I've got an obligation to do, and so we'll knock this out right quick. I recently did something. When I got that new Bonafide kayak, which I ended up not really liking, and I got the motor, which can't be you, I've told that whole story. Anyway, I took a deal where companies would give me some batteries in exchange for talking about the batteries on the video, right? Well, I got the 36-volt batteries for that motor, which now I can't use. So I ended up making a purchase off of two of these companies' websites for 12-volt batteries, because this motor here is a 12-volt, which I'm going back to using, at least for the time being, and I needed new batteries. The two batteries that I've had, both have just went down the crapper. I don't know what's wrong. They won't hold a charge. They just, and they're both like that. They're both about 3 years old, different companies, but neither one of them will hold a damn charge. My battery goes dead all the time, and I have to end up plugging it into my fish finder battery just to be able to make it back to the launch. And that's with me not really running very far. So anyway, I made two purchases so that I could fulfill these obligations that I made. I'm about done with working with companies, folks. It's biting me in the ass too damn much. But anyway, I did need to buy two more 12-volt batteries anyway, and so it is what it is. But I got to tell you about this company and one of the batteries here that's in that hatch, and I'm going to show it, but we're already out here so close now to where we're going to be fishing at. I'll just wait until we get set up to do that. I'm about done working with companies, though. I'm going to tell you that, folks. I like Catfish Sumo. I've got a good deal with Catfish Sumo. They're great to work with. They let me do my thing, and they don't pester me. I don't have to be a salesman. I don't have to make 15 posts a week on social media, hashtagging everything. Like, I just get to do what I want to do, and that's good enough. You know, I go out, I fish, I have a good experience, I have fun, and you all see me using their gear while I'm catching all those fish and having fun. And, you know, that's sales, folks. Like, that's Catfish Sumo gets a lot of sales just because people see me using their gear. I don't have to be Billy Mays ShamWow guy and try to sell you a fishing rod or a hook or anything else every time I get on the water. That's not, y'all don't want to hear that, and hell, I'm not even good at that kind of crap anyway, right? Like, it's just not me. I'm just not, that's just not my style. I'm not that kind of person. So Catfish Sumo is a good company for me to be working with. But these other companies that want me to be Billy Mays ShamWow guy, like, it's just not a good fit. But I got obligations here, folks. I did accept 2 batteries in exchange for mentioning them on my channel, and so we're going to knock that out here in a minute once I get it set up. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to show you here as we make our way out. Let me get over here, and I'm going to show you on the graph what this looks like and how we're going to set up. And we're going to give it a little time out here and just see what happens. If we get bit, we'll certainly sit here longer. If we're seeing fish, we'll sit here longer. If we're not seeing anything and not getting bit, we're going to head back toward the creek. But I do want to know what's going on right out here at the mouth of this thing. And I think we're going to set up at the top of it first. I just want to see what's going on out here at the top of the drop, and then we may work our way out to the bottom of the drop. There's some bait right there, my God. Let's just go ahead and spot lock. Yeah, there's a school of bait right here at the top of this drop, folks. That's a school of probably shad right there, and there's something off beside it. So this creek that we've come out of back here, folks, in the old days, before the reservoir was made, it would have winded out around and come out here. You can see it kind of comes around this point, even though it's kind of off the screen, and loops around. And there's another point like right here that's underwater. You can see about normal water conditions, 25 feet deep. It's going to be the top of that, and it makes a point here, and there's another point here, and that creek would have dumped out into the main river channel right here. So we're at the top of this drop. We got all this bait right here, and I just want to sit here and drop our baits down and see what happens, and see if we get some fish either working in and out of this creek or out of the main channel coming up. As soon as they come over the top of this drop, there's our baits, man. So let's just drop everything back down, give it a little time here, and see what happens. There's a bunch of bait down there right on bottom too, right there. You're seeing bait like that, that's right there on bottom. That's a good sign that there's going to be some fish around it in some way, shape, or form. Now our suspended baits here, no problem. We'll drop them right down. Our dragging rigs, we're going to drop them right down, but it's not really a day like today where you don't have any current. It's not really the ideal setup necessarily, but we're going to try it just to get it down there. I'm actually up on this point a little bit. We're going to come off that. Back us up a little bit. I want to get us down in that old channel there. I want to get us down in it there, all in the inside that drop's what I want to be. Once we got settled there, we ended up being kind of up on that point a little bit. And the water depth is certainly going to be off right now because of the water depth change, just winter drawdown and such. It's not going to be accurate what you're seeing there on the map card. I still ain't exactly where I want to be. Let me back us up a little. Bear with me here, folks. When you're setting up like this, it's important to be where you need to be. I mean, if you're off a little bit, if fish are working in to that old creek channel and you're off, like you're not in that old creek channel, then a day like today where you don't really have any current flow, they can go right by your baits and they're not even going to know you're there. So it's important to, your map card will tell you where to go, but you need to use your 2D in conjunction with your map card just to confirm that you are where you think you are. Sometimes your map card, it's pretty accurate out here where I fish, but sometimes it can be a little off. And if it is, then again, you can be, there's days you can be 30 feet off, you might as well be 30 miles off, because fish ain't going to find your bait if they don't know it's there, if there's no current dispersing your scent or whatever. All right, now we're getting down to business here. Now we fell off here to that old channel there. There's a couple fish right there on that decline too, ain't it? Okay, now we're finding the bait again. All right, now we're in business. Okay. Let me set our crappie head. So the crappie head will be on the right now, apparently, because that's where I just put it. And the chunk will be on the left. Let me get these two baits on the front resettled here first. Okay. Yeah, it's a big school of bait down there, right on bottom. 38 feet. Okay, now let's lower these down. The dragging sinker will be on bottom. Our float will certainly keep the bait elevated 3 feet or so up off bottom. I don't mind doing this when you got a little bit of current. When you're just in slack water and you're trying to drop a dragging rig down vertical under you, it's kind of not really the best setup in my opinion. Sometimes your bait can get wrapped around your sinker. But we're going to roll with it for a little while out here just to see what's up, see if there's some fish that's going to come through here, to see, just to see. Man, we don't know what we don't know. If I was coming out here and fishing how I would normally like to fish, this is how I would set us up right here. 38 feet between these 2 points, right in this old creek channel right before it dumped off into the river. I would have either set up here like we've done or got right off the bottom of the drop. And we may, duties and giggles, if this don't work out, just go off the bottom of the drop for a minute and see how that goes before we take off back in that creek. But when we go back in the creek, because we'll be going into the wind this time, it'll be much easier to control our speed, which will help keep the kayak aligned, and it'll be easier. But anyway, let me tell you about this battery, folks. So let me pull it out here. I've still got my batteries in the front hatch on this kayak. But this battery that I got, the new 12 volt here, is significantly, bear with me here, folks, I've got my other wire hung. There we go. This battery here And I've just run a connection here so that I can plug my motor into the battery and also my charger and just use the same port. But this battery is a LiTime, L-I-T-I-M-E, 12 volt, 100 amp hour. And this is their Smart X Mini model. And it's small, man. This is a small battery. It's a Group 24 size battery. And it's got Bluetooth. So basically what that means is I can monitor the charge on my phone. They've got an app, and I'll pull it up and show you here what the app looks like. But it tells you exactly how much charge you have left. And so like today, for instance, I charged this battery before I left, and from the time that I run to the back of that creek when I first got out here looking for bait, come back, turn the camera on, we fished our way out to here, we've only used 8% of the battery. And so right now it's saying standby because we're on spot lock. We're not really actively moving. If you're actively moving, it'll say discharging. But it disconnects to your battery there via Bluetooth, and you can click on it, see exactly how much charge you have. Makes it very, very convenient there. But this is, it's so small, man. It's lightweight. This thing weighs less than 20 pounds. It's like 19.8 pounds. And so, you know, my other lithium batteries that I had for this motor, they were 12 volt, 100 amp hour. They were Group 31 size, and they weighed 29, 30 pounds in that range. So they have cut the weight by a third, and they've cut the size down. And that may not seem like a lot, going from 30 pounds down to 19.8, but in a kayak, it is a big deal because, you know, in a kayak, every pound of weight you have, whether it's yourself, gear, bait tanks, whatever, it's just working toward your maximum weight capacity. And every pound you add, it just makes your kayak a little less stable, right? So the less weight you can have in gear, the better. And so this, at 19.8 pounds, is a big change, at least it feels like anyway, from what I had. And when I travel, and you got to carry batteries into the hotel, carrying 19 pounds is a whole lot easier than carrying 30 plus, right? So anyway, I like it so far. It works way better than the battery I had, which is, both of the brands I had were very reputable brands. But here's the thing, folks. All these batteries, and I'm pretty sure this one here has a 10-year warranty too, but let's just be real, most of these batteries don't last 10 years. Now, I ain't trying to knock this company, I don't know. This is my first time ever using them, but most of these batteries don't last that long. And my other battery's 3 years old. They won't hold a charge. They just don't work like they did when they were new. And yeah, I could go through the warranty process probably, but it's going to cost me $100 in shipping to send it back to the company. They send me another one, I'm probably going to have to cover shipping on that. Well, guess what? For the cost of shipping, the other one's back for warranty. I could buy this one right here, and I got it on sale. When I bought this one, it was $249, I believe. So, heck, man, just for what it would cost to do a warranty, the prices have come down so much, you can just buy a brand new battery. So anyway, that's what I got here. The LiTime 12 volt, 100 amp hour Smart Mini. So far, so good with it, man. It's definitely working out pretty well so far. Fits in my front hatch there better. I'm probably going to end up moving the batteries behind the seat again, though. That's probably what I'm going to do. Run my wires from the motor internally, extend them, and go behind my seat. But anyway, it does fit in the front hatch better now as is. So y'all check them out. LiTime, LiTime.com. They gave me a discount code for y'all. It's KACA. That'll get you 6% off whatever your sale price or whatever price is on their website right now anyway. But they were real nice to me, man. They reached out and offered me a battery in exchange for talking about them here on my channel. And I took that 36 volt battery that they had because I was getting the Bonafide and that power pole motor. And again, that system, I've talked about that in other videos recently. It didn't work out for me. but I needed another battery for this motor, the 12 volt, and I said, I'm gonna get me one of these LiTimes and I'll do the battery, or I'll do this, I'll talk about it with this battery. And so there you go. But yeah, small, lightweight. Again, my hand here, you can see my hand and see the size of the battery. It's very small. So check it out, LiTime.com, y'all, and use that code KACA, save you an extra 6%. All right, well, let's stick this battery here back in the front hatch. I got my other battery box up there for my fish finder. I got to get all this situated and sorted out. I had broken down this kayak when I got the other one and taken my accessories off and everything. What happened up there? I must have mashed a button when I mashed a button while I was leaning forward on the remote. But yeah, I'd stripped everything off of this kayak, and once I got in the bona fide, and that, you know, it didn't work out for my needs, folks. It just things didn't go my way with that new setup, so didn't work out like I had hoped. So I moved everything back to this kayak. I've left the live scope off. I've put my old graph back on, run the wires internal for it, and I think I'm probably going to, like I said, extend the wires from the motor, run them through the hole and out the back of my seat, and then just push my cooler back a little bit, because I've got some space over here. It can go back a little more, and build me a battery tray right in here in this area and store my batteries. And that'll take some of the weight. Well, it'll take another 19 pounds out of that front hatch, which again is not a lot of weight, but any weight I can remove out of that hatch will help me when I'm fishing in choppy, rough water. Because it's been a real problem in this kayak, taking water over the bow and getting down in that hatch. That was what made me want to switch kayaks to begin with. And part of the reason I take on so much water is my fault. I've added a bow mount motor to a kayak not designed to handle a bow mount motor, and I've had them heavy-ass batteries in that hatch. Now, you know, my other old batteries were, I'm pretty sure, one of them's 29 pounds, one of them's 30 pounds. And then I had my live scope, which the live scope, the power box, black box, whatever you call it there, the processor, and the battery to run that was probably another 20 plus pounds of weight between the screen, the black box, and the battery. That was probably another 20. So I took 50 pounds out. I went from 50 pounds down to 19 with this battery. So I've already taken some weight out. But if I move that battery either under my seat or right behind me, then I will have taken 50 pounds out of that hatch. And that will hopefully help me not take on as much water in rougher conditions when I've got chop and stuff like that. So we'll see. The reason I had moved all that stuff forward to begin with was convenience. When you're traveling somewhere and you're staying at a hotel, it's nice to have your stuff inside a hatch, not just sitting out for people to easily steal. That's certainly helpful. But the other thing too, and I don't know the dynamics of why this is, but I've done it both ways and I've seen it firsthand. When you have more weight forward in the kayak, whether it's your bait bucket, whether it's batteries in the hatch, the more weight you can put on the front, the more speed you get. And I've documented this to be true because when I first set this kayak up with the bow mount motor, I had the battery behind the seat and I had nothing in that front hatch. And I was getting perfect conditions. I would get about 4.2, somewhere between 4 miles an hour and 4.2 for speed, top speed. When I put everything, all that weight up there, now my top speed's 4.5, 4.7. You take a day like today, for instance, where the water's pretty calm. If we were going full speed back down through here, especially with the bait bucket and the battery, I'm gonna get 4.7 miles an hour top speed. I'm gonna get a full half mile an hour speed difference. Now you might be saying, well, Justin, it's a half mile an hour. Who gives a crap? It's not a huge deal, but when your top speed was 4 miles an hour and you can go to 4.5, 4.7, you're basically increasing your speed by over 10% just by shifting the weight forward. So it adds up over the course of time. I mean, it saves you, not going to save you a lot of time getting spot to spot, but over the course of a year, however many trips you do, you multiply that out by however many extra minutes you get of fishing time, and it's gonna over the course of the long run. We got a fish on. Got a fish right there. Light action rod again. 38 feet here. Guess it's gonna be another small blue cat, yes. Well, we got these things back in the creek and we getting them here at the creek mouth, the old original creek mouth. Let me see that hook fish. I tell you, these small cats, way more fun to catch on appropriate size tackle for them. If I reeled in this fish on one of my other catfish rods here, we'd barely know he was on. All right, we'll see you. Go get big for us. Adios, arrivederci. We got more of these shads starting to die off. Let's get this one here before I dropped him. This one here is still wiggling. Let's use him. But yeah, over the course of time, when you're figuring I don't care if it gives you an extra 2 minutes of fishing per day, just getting to the spot a little quicker. Maybe you gain a minute going out on your trip and you gain a minute coming back, right? So you get 2 extra minutes of lines in time per day. Well, man, multiply that out. Those 2 minutes you gained by 30 trips, you just had an extra hour of time with baits in the water. Now multiply that out by a year, 5 years. How many extra fish did you catch? It may not help you. Those extra 2 minutes ain't gonna mean jack diddly poo-poo on any given day. But I promise over the course of time, you add in hours and hours of extra time with lines in the water, it will translate into more fish. So anything you can do to become more efficient in an inefficient platform of a kayak, it's going to translate to more fish. And that's how I viewed it with the speed. I'm like, okay, well, moving all that weight up front in this kayak, yeah, it throws off the balance a little bit. It throws off the stability. But if I'm gaining all that extra speed, if I'm getting 10% more, it's worth it. But now I'm kind of thinking, getting into some of the situations I've gotten into with that hole filling up because water getting in that hatch, I'm like, maybe it ain't worthwhile. So I'm probably going to end up moving them batteries back to the back, seal off that front hatch really good, put a new liner in there, and just take the sacrifice in speed. That's probably the smart thing, probably what I'm going to end up doing. In theory, I could put the 36-volt motor on this. I think it's just going to be too much power, though. Too much thrust. I think if, God forbid, I sit on the remote while I'm moving full speed, or, be going full speed and accidentally hit spot lock or something, it's so much power with that other motor. It's liable to throw me out, honestly. Whereas this 12-volt here, it's powerful enough, but I'm not going swimming with this motor up here. There's nothing this motor's going to do to throw me out of the kayak. So I think that's the smarter play. And it's a little bit lighter weight. It's about 15 pounds lighter than the 36 volt motor. So it's just, this kayak, it was designed to be used with pedals, which, you know, here's the pedal drive slot. I've got it closed off. I never use the pedals. But that's what it was designed for. It was not designed to put a bow mount motor on. And that Bonafide kayak I got is designed for a bow mount motor, and it's built up. The front of the hull is built up. Like, you're not going to have issues with the bow mount motor on it. But it's also incredibly slow. The 36 volt motor on the Bonafide, barely moving any faster than what I move in this thing with the 12 volt 55 pound thrust, because of the way how rounded and wide the Bonafide hull is. It's not designed for speed, it's designed for stability. When you're in a kayak, you get one or the other on just about everything. Like, you can't have it all. Like, if you get maximum stability, you're going to lose some speed. If you get maximum maneuverability, you're going to sacrifice some stability. Maybe sacrifice some length, maybe sacrifice some storage. Like, you can't just have it all. Like, you got to make some compromises. And so it's best to try to figure out what's most important to you, because everybody's needs are different. When you're getting a kayak, you know, you can watch me fish and how I do things out here, primarily on the Tennessee River, where I spend most of my time throughout the year. But if you're catfishing and you're on a different body of water and different conditions and whatnot, like, my setup may not work for you. Or how you like to fish. I suspend fish as often as I can. If you don't suspend fish, you don't like it, whatever, you probably don't want to set up the way I do and use what I do. Like, because my needs aren't aligned with your needs in that situation. But it's just a matter of figuring out, like, what is it that you need, what is it that you want, and trying to find a kayak that checks as many boxes as possible. And if you have a kayak that is maybe something that just is a deal breaker for you, well, then you got to rule that model out, even though it may be a great kayak for somebody else. And as for what's going to be the deal breaker for you, I don't know. I mean, that's up for you to decide. There's not too many deal breakers for me. I feel like I'm pretty flexible on things with kayaks, as long as I can fish how I want to fish out of them. But, you know, that Bonafide, again, it's a massive kayak. It's more of like a plastic John boat, and when I couldn't do everything I wanted to do out of it, I'm like, well, now all of a sudden the extra weight and the extra stability and all the sacrifices I was having to overlook, the things I was having to overlook to get what I wanted, when I couldn't get what I wanted, well, now all of a sudden them things they're not really worth tolerating anymore. So I think hopefully by the time you're seeing this video, because my videos are a few days, I'm filming, I think this video will come out on January 6th maybe, or 7th. Today's the 30th, I believe, right? Yeah, today's December 30th, so I'm about a week behind on my videos right now. And so this kayak my Bonafide should be sold by the time you see this video. My friend Chris from Ohio is driving down and picking it up on his way to Louisiana. And so it should be gone by the time you're seeing this video. He's buying the kayak motor, the whole shebang. Oh, look right here. I'm sitting here talking away, and look what's under us. That's a big school of shad right there, folks. It's a big school. It's about 25 feet down to, I don't know, 30, 32 feet. That's kind of like some of those schools I was talking about early on in this video of what you can expect to see in the wintertime when all these shad congregate in these creeks. You will see, and sometimes it'll be even bigger schools than this, where like it'll be from the top of your screen to the bottom of just blacked out because there's so much bait. I mean, just completely just blacked out, man. This is a smaller, I mean, it's a big school, but it's smaller, comparatively speaking, to some of them that I've seen and talked about, but they're right there under us, and they're right here at the top of that drop. But I'm not seeing really anything going on under it. We do have baits. Our baits are there under it, though. If anything is following them around. We're not going to sit out here too terribly long, though. Like I said, I wanted to drag today because most of the fish on that last trip that I had success on was caught dragging. And I mean, we've got a nice, comfortable day, sunny day. I really thought fish were going to probably be, of course, I've thought that the last few days of stable weather we've had, and it ain't worked out. But I just thought I feel like we need to be on the move a little bit today. Kind of in the creeks, but we were this far out. We were having trouble with the wind. Let's just check this out. We'll slide off down here to the bottom in a few minutes. Wait there a little bit, and then we'll come back on the top and we'll drag our way back. I need to get rid of some of these shad, I guess. Some of them here, some of them are starting to float. We'll throw them out. What I really need to do is switch out our water, I guess. That'll help them others live a little longer. Y'all hold these shad in here while I dump this water. Do this, and hopefully we put the fresh water in there. Them other shad we got alive will continue to live a little longer and get us through the end of the day without us having to net anymore. When you see them deep like that on the screen, 25 feet deep, you throw your net's going to be collapsed by the time first off, I ain't got enough rope. I don't have enough rope to get down there to 25 feet, but oh crap. Even if you did, your net's going to be collapsed by the time you get down there. And there's some guys that use tape, apparently. They'll put, I guess, duct tape around the bottom edge of their nets. And that apparently will get you, it'll flare that net out, apparently, and keep it from collapsing on the way down. Okay. All right, we switched out most of that water there. Let me throw that one back in. Feed the birds out here. But yeah, if you got duct tape along the bottom of your net, it apparently the water resistance keeps it flared out and can let you keep it pancake, keep it open there down to the deeper depths. But at 25 feet, hell, we don't have enough rope on this particular net to get down that far. But it don't matter. There's a ton of thread fins back there in the shallows we can run over and get real quick if we needed to. It's just, I'd like to try to keep these alive in here a little bit longer if we could. Throw out them other dead ones. We've still got several in there that are still swimming. Hopefully they'll be okay now that we've put new water in. And thank goodness I did that, folks, because damn near every fish, well, all but one has come on that light tackle rod. Yeah, we got that one dink there on the gizzard shad, on the dragon rod. Everything else has been on the light tackle. So, yeah, just one of them days, man. It's just been, I've struggled lately. Today's been the best, probably the best day of numbers of fish so far, but I mean, quality ain't been there. But even the days where I got them 2 big fish, it wasn't great days. I mean, some of you regular viewers, you saw them. It wasn't great. There was a lot of times of sitting there twiddling thumbs. Now, I'll take that to get the big fish, right? Like, I'll deal with some downtime, but I know for video purposes, it don't necessarily make the best for the best entertainment. Ideally, you'd like to have a lot of fish and some big fish mixed in. Now, right here looks like some fish on under this school. You see them squiggles right there off the bottom? It's come up. Look right there. That looks like some fish maybe under that school. We'll see. We'll see if we get bit. It's when you got that much bait down there, it's kind of hard to compete. We would ideally like to be near that school, but slightly away from it. That way, we're kind of presenting with our cut bait and also our live thread fins. We're representing wounded fish that have been separated from the school. That's what we ideally want to represent. But I get out in the wintertime, and on better weather days, I'll get out here and take my swings and try stuff, but I'm very inconsistent in the winter. Sometimes I'm on them, a lot of times I ain't. I take more skunk days in the winter. My last trip out, skunked. I mean, not even a peck at the bait, man. Not even a tap. And it's just, that's how it goes. It's another good reason for me to go back to Florida. That way, I got better chance of catching some sharks down there than I do some catfish here, I feel like. I'm gonna have a hell of a lot more fun too. I love fishing for them sharks. It's just, and especially those black tips go crazy, man, doing their acrobatic, flying through the air. But even other sharks too, like when they hit it and run and head down, like it's still, when you're getting towed around by something massive, like it's exhilarating, it's humbling to know that you've hooked into something that big and powerful. Like it's a rush, man. And I don't want to talk like you can't get that catfishing. You can, certainly. But it's just different. I do this all the time. I catfish all the time, you know. Oh, man. Nailed it. Now that was a rush right there, seeing that rod go over like that. This is our light rod again. It's come through for us again here, folks. Hell, this rod's gonna save the day. I think this one here is gonna be slightly bigger than the ones we've been getting on this rod, folks. Definitely gonna be a little bigger quality. I bet it was one of them fish we saw hanging out under that school of shad. The school of shad was up here. Our baits are down there under it. We've got wounded shad there like they've fallen out of that school, or an easy meal. Here I am talking about getting a rush. When I saw that rod just get slammed and go over, that's a rush, man. I don't care how big the fish is, anytime that happens, yeah, it's another small one, but a little bigger small one than what we've been getting. Still an incredible rush, though. When it goes over like that, how can you not get excited? Some of you probably say, well, Justin, y'all just fish light tackle all the time. And I'm back and forth on it every time I think about it. On one hand, it'll be fun. On the other hand, if the day comes that you hook into that triple-digit fish, the fish of a lifetime, the one you've been fishing for forever, do you really want to be battling it on the light tackle rod, or do you want something you got a better chance of actually landing it on? Yeah, it's a larger dink right there. He's a heck of a time on that action of a rod for sure. That's the size of rod you need to be, the size of tackle you need for fish like that. But out here, man, hell, you'll catch a bunch of fish that size, and you've got a chance at that triple digit every time you come out. So it's like, on one hand, you want to match your tackle to the size of the fish that you're most likely to catch, right? So that it's the most fun. But at the same time, too, you also want to be prepared for that fish of a lifetime. So, it's a back and forth type thing. It would be incredible to hook into that monster on a light tackle rod, but at the same time, too, you're going to be far less likely to land it. I had a situation a few years ago. It was summertime during the spawn, and I got the video on my channel. I had regular rods out and I had a light tackle rod. And I hooked up with one on the light tackle rod first, and I knew picking up on that thing like it was big. And my other rod goes down, and it's massive. And I broke the one off on the light tackle rod, of course, but the one I landed on the regular tackle was a huge fish. Just one of my biggest ever. It was actually the biggest fish I ever turned in a tournament. It was 50 inches long and just massive. And I'm pretty sure I caught that fish previously, kind of in that same general area within like a quarter, half mile, a few years before, because it had a mark on its head. Again, that video is on my channel. I think that would have been from I think it was 2020. 2020 or 2021, that video was in. But anyhow, that fish and the one I hooked on my light tackle rod at the time hit with, very close time frame to each other. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if the one that would have been on my light tackle rod was also a monster, but I broke him off because I just, that tackle wasn't, it wasn't ideal for a fish of that size. So it would be fun. It would be a battle. I would enjoy it up to the point that I broke off. It would be one of them things where I'd spend a bunch of time second guessing myself for putting myself in that situation. But it is doable to land big fish on light tackle. It is. And again, I'd say light tackle, it's just lighter. It's not actually light tackle. Hell, I'm using 30-pound braid and 30-pound fluorocarbon leader right there. So it's not like it's not like we're doing ultralight fishing here. But it does take a little bit more finesse to get a big fish in on that setup. I hooked one, I guess this would have been maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3. I went out in the winter. I was using the live scope at the time in this kayak, and I threw a crappie jig at what I thought was a crappie. And it turned into being about a 30-pound cat, 25, 30 pound. And I hooked him on 2-pound line and my ultralight. And so I battled that thing for what felt like an eternity before I ever got him up. Now, I finally did get him up to the side of the kayak. I actually had my hands on him. But he ended up breaking off, of course. But, it's doable. It's definitely doable to land big fish on light or lighter tackle. It's just you got to be a little bit more finesse. You got to take your time. I mean, if we were targeting big fish today with this light tackle rod, I wouldn't want to have 4 rods out. I think I'd rather just have maybe 2 rods, especially with that braid, because you're begging for it, that braid, to get to the point you got to cut it if you get tangled up with everything. But our setup today with the tiny shad, let's be real, most likely we're going to catch small fish with it. If we hooked a monster today, I'd bet on it hitting the crappie head, not the threadfin shad. But there's still that chance. I mean, I've heard the stories. I'm positive you have either heard the stories or have experienced it yourself, crappie fishing, where you throw out a minnow and hook a huge flathead, something like that. So it happens. You can catch a big fish on any setup. That duck over there is just being obnoxious. Look at him over there. He's just soaking up his camera time. Flapping his wings and causing a scene over there. We see you, bird. We see that too, don't we? Another one. This one ain't gonna be as big as the other one. It's another bite though. Definitely more action today than what I've gotten lately. But lately I've been on Fort Loudon, and today I'm on Watts Bar. Loudon, I've said this before, but it seems like the quality of fish is better on Fort Loudon, but you don't get as many. You come here on Watts Bar, you can catch more fish, but the bigger fish don't happen as frequently. I've caught big fish on Watts Bar, and I've had an occasional day on Loudon where you get a bunch of fish. But usually it's on Loudon, you average about a fish an hour. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. So if I go fishing for 4 hours or 5 hours, I'm hoping to get 4 or 5 fish, whereas Watts Bar, I'm gonna get more fish, but I'm gonna have to average more trips in between the big fish bites. And it's amazing that it's like that, because they're literally separated by a dam. It's the same river with just a dam in between them. But it's literally like that, folks. Once you go to the other side of that dam, it's a different world. It just fishes completely different. But the light tackle, if we had a bigger hook and a bigger piece of bait on that lighter rod, it would be a smarter idea to not have 3 other rods out, maybe 1. Right here. Is that a flathead? Is that a flathead? That's on our crappie head. He is a slow pull right there. I didn't feel a thump. It was just a slow pull. We had the crappie head on the right, didn't we? When we got out here and then set up again, didn't I put the crappie head out here on this side? Pretty sure. Yeah, definitely a better quality fish here. It's a blue. I was hoping it's going to be a flathead the way he was pulling. Definitely a little better quality though. He's thrown that crappie head off too. I was worried that was going to happen. When you hook them like that, you usually get 1 fish. That's the downside of hooking them that way, but I feel like you get better hookups doing that than running up under the mouth on those bigger heads like that. So hate that we lost it on this fish, but he's the biggest one of the day so far. We're going to set out here a little while longer, folks. We keep getting bit on the light tackle rod. Now we got this one, which I'm going to hold him out there. He's a larger dink, we'll call him. He's probably got fun size length, but he's just skinny. Go on. We'll just sit out here a little while longer, why don't we? I'm gonna take the rest of this crappie. I'm gonna, what have I got in them scissors? My scissors fell apart here. Let's see if I can trim some fins here. We'll put the other piece of this crappie on. I wonder how the hell we put these things. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna cut this part of the tail off here on this piece of crappie. That way we're bleeding out two sides. Hopefully putting a little bit more scent in the water there. Yeah, I didn't feel that fish hit, but it could have just been because this was the dragon rig and there was some distance maybe between our, so maybe some slack there, I should say, between the hook and the sinker where it was down there. Whereas our normal suspend rig, the line is taut all the way down because of the way it's set up. So either way, we got him, by gosh. I sure was hoping it's gonna be a flathead though. I got one flathead last week. It was a small one, but still, I got one. It's doable this time of year. It's just not as likely. The water temps are 50, 51 degrees and getting here December 30th today, but wintertime, you know, wintertime months, just not as common. But they are still, I get flatheads every winter. January, February, just they usually start late March, April. That's when the bite starts picking up, you start getting more of them. Well, that crappie wasn't completely wasted, although the crappie fisherman will say I wasted it. You killed a crappie I could have eaten to catch a catfish. That's what they always say. They got no problem killing a crappie. It's the fact that you're using it for bait. Even though they'll kill a bunch of crappie and waste them by putting them in the freezer. I can't tell you how many times I've ran into crappie fishermen who has tried to give me crappie. Yeah, man, I kept all these crappie out here today. I got my limit, but I ain't got nowhere to put them. My freezer's full. Like, why the hell didn't you just throw them back then? I don't understand them. That crappie today, though, acted weird. Had to be the barotrauma. Just didn't seem like it was deep enough to cause it, but maybe because we reeled him up so fast. You catch a fish, like that crappie, for instance, on that setup, and you're not gonna take long to get him in, that's for sure. While that setup may be good for a catfish that weighs a few pounds, a crappie, a little too heavy for them. Our shad in there seemed to be doing better after the water change and after getting out the dead ones. Hopefully them that's in there will last up until we're ready to roll out today. I'll probably fish right up till maybe sunset, maybe 30 minutes or so before. That way I can get back to the car and everything for you. Once the sun, it feels good on the skin right now, but once it starts to go down, it'll get cold quick today. I just don't like cold, man. I'm just at an age where that Florida weather, sunny and 75, just suits me better. And I know the hardcore cat fishermen, It's hard to really call them hardcore when they're out there in their boats with the enclosures and propane heater, but those are usually the ones to chime in, and the first ones to call me a pansy for not wanting to fish in the cold. But yeah, those guys will tell you that some of their best days have been in the winter months, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen their pictures. Like they catch a bunch of monster fish in the winter months. But if I got to go out and freeze my cojones off and lose feeling in my fingers and my toes to be able to catch that fish, I don't know that I need it that bad. I catch plenty enough fish when it's warm. Keep me satisfied, I reckon. I tried this morning. One of the reasons why I was later getting out here today was I went and tried to get us some skipjack this morning. Well, I went to go try to get us some skipjack. I didn't actually cast a line, but I was going to try to do so. A buddy of mine told me where he'd been getting some skipjack at off the bank. And so I was like, well, great. You know, I'll go get us some this morning, try that. Because that's one thing we haven't had lately. I've been fishing with mostly gizzard shad and thread fins lately. I haven't had skipjack in a while. I've really struggled on. But I went up there, and I'll be damned if in this particular spot, it's a bank spot, and there's really enough room for one person down there. You can fit two if it's somebody you can tolerate being around. Really, it's better if one of you is left-handed and one of you is right-handed. That way you can, because there's not a lot of room to cast when you get multiple people down there. And, you know, it's got to be somebody you like because you're going to be close proximity. Anyhow, I made the drive over there, and I'll be damned if there wasn't already two people there. So I didn't even get out. I just turned around and went back home. Well, I went to Aldi and then went back home. Because my buddy that told me about where he's been getting skipjack at, his wife runs Aldi that I shop at for my groceries. And I had messaged him the other day and told him to tell her I was about over her crap. Because the last 3 times I've been to Aldi to get groceries, they've been out of red grapes. And I'm not opposed to mixing it up and eating some green grapes occasionally as this front left rod gets messed with. Is he hooked on that thing? It was bouncing around. Let me just, I don't know I think he's foul hooked the bait now. No, he didn't foul hook it either. Well, he tried awful hard for it. Let's switch out this shad. Let's put a new piece on. Oh, we got one over here. Before we do that, let's reel this one in. I guess that fish that was trying to get that bait couldn't do it. So he come over here and said, well, I'll just eat one of these thread fins then. And I think he's gotten our back line while I was not noticing he was hooked up. He has gotten our other line here. Actually, it's just that hook that's currently in that line. Maybe we can keep them from getting, if he will not roll until I get this hook undone, we'll be okay with it. Perfect. Way to cooperate, fish. Heck yeah. Y'all got this fish trained. Y'all have got this thing. You've got him. This fish right here, he's coachable, man. Come here, fish. I got to tell my story about Aldi. Dadgummit. Okay, there he is. Get on out of here. Well, let's put us another thread fin on and drop that down, and we're going to cut another shad, and I'm going to tell you how I'm getting some things changed at Aldi. I don't know, I brought this net with me. Here I am reaching in here like a bear claw, grabbing a salmon out of a stream, grabbing them shad. You can tell it's a warmer afternoon, by gosh. If it was blistering cold out here, I wouldn't be putting my hand down in that water. We're getting a lot of action on them threadfin. Way more than what I've been getting on it lately. I mean, we've gotten some fish on the threadfin on some recent trips, but not like today where it's been really consistent. I don't know if that's just because fish are more active or if we're just because we're on Watts Bar and there's just more fish here. It could go either way. We had that chunk on before. Let's go back to a head bait. We need a head bait anyway, since we lost our crappie. We lost our crappie head. Both them crappie pieces are just chunks. I'd rather definitely need one head bait on for sure. Got to have a head bait on at all times, if possible anyway. Go. Another gizzard shad head headed down. Okay. That reset, raise it up right off the bottom. Yeah, so my buddy, his friend, I mean my friend's wife. Well, yeah, honestly, I don't know if they're married or not. You can see how good a friend I am. I don't even know if they're married. They've been together forever. They cohabitate. They have children together. I assume they're married. None of my damn business either way. But anyway, she runs Aldi that I shop at. And the last 3 times I've been there, they've been out of grapes. I prefer the red ones, but hell, they've been out of the green ones too. It ain't even like I can substitute. And so I messaged him after I'd been up there and had to leave without grapes again. I messaged him. I said, you tell your wife I'm about over her crap. She needs to get some damn grapes in this place. Well, apparently they get their shipment of grapes in on Mondays. And apparently get cleaned out of them very quickly. Now, to me, that's supply and demand. If you're running out of grapes very quickly, order more. But nevertheless, she got in a shipment today and held me some. So I swung by there on my way back from failing to make a cast for skipjack. So that way I could have my grapes. I like to eat me a bowl of fruit every night after my dinner, folks. I'm at that age where I got a little bit of a sweet tooth. As we get older, this is something y'all are going to experience, you young whippersnappers out there. You older people in my audience, you're already going through this and experiencing it. And I guess I'm at that age, 42, where it's starting to happen with me. But as we get older, our taste buds change. And one of the reasons why that you typically see old people that like sweet stuff is because the taste buds that recognize sweet taste, they're one of the last ones to go. So typically as you get older, you start liking sweet stuff more. You like it better. You like it more often. Well, as I've tried to be healthier over the last year or so and trying to get off the Pepsis and the chocolate donuts, because that's what I used to eat, man. I'd eat my dinner. I'd have me a Pepsi with dinner. So that's 41 grams of sugar there in that 8-ounce can of Pepsi. And then I'd have me some of them little brown chocolate donuts. A lot of extra sugar. Well, I've gotten away from that. I've cut way back on Pepsi. and cut out the processed sweet foods completely. I haven't had a donut in, hell, I can't tell you when. But I needed a replacement. I needed a suitable replacement for my post-dinner dessert, snack, whatever. I needed something sweet. So I switched over to eating fruit. Yes, there is sugar in fruit, but it is natural. And fruit is full of fiber, and so you don't get that same spike. If you eat, and you know, I'm probably not the most educated person to speak on this. I mean, I have a degree in nursing. I was a nurse prior to, but this is more of a nutritionist type thing. But when you eat garbage, let's say you drink a Pepsi, your body gets hit with that initial surge of sugar, and so you have that insulin spike in your body to regulate that, to bring that down. When you eat fruit, yes, it has sugar in it, but you also have that fiber with the fruit, and that just helps. It's better for you. You get the same. So you get the same enjoyment of eating something sweet, but it's better for your body. Eating something natural like in fruit versus something processed like donuts or cookies or ice cream. Pick your sweet tooth of choice there, sweet food of choice. Anyway, I like my fruit there in the evenings. Sometimes it's apples, sometimes it's grapes, whatever. I like it fresh, not in a can. Well, I go to Aldi for my groceries, and so their grapes are always really good. And because I haven't been able to get them there the last 3 times, I've had to go to Walmart to get my grapes. And yes, they have grapes. One thing you can count on at Walmart is them actually having some grapes or fruit or whatever you want. But it's not any good. Like when you compare the flavor of Aldi's grapes to Walmart's grapes, like it's night and day difference. And I don't know why that is. My theory on it is that maybe Walmart, because Walmart's all about the dollar, you know. I mean, all these companies are, but with Walmart's being so much bigger and distribution and all, maybe they have to pick those grapes sooner, you know, before they're ripe so that they keep longer in the stores. Whereas with Aldi, the turnaround is so much quicker, they can pick them grapes when they're ready to be picked and still be able to get rid of them without losing a bunch of stock to rot or waste. Whatever the reason, whether I'm 100% correct or 100% wrong, it don't matter. What I do know to be fact is that Aldi's grapes are better than Walmart's, and it's not even close. Like they're way better. And so I told my buddy to let his wife know, like I'm sick of her. She runs that place. You know, order some more damn grapes. So she's going to take care of me. She's going to start putting me some grapes back. Make sure I get them. I know y'all think that's crazy, but I like my grapes after dinner, folks. I like having a bowl of them. And I'll eat the green ones, but the red ones are a little better. And listen, they say they're seedless. And for the most part, the ones at Aldi are. But the last ones I got at Walmart, and I ended up throwing most of them out. You bite into their red grapes, and you'd have a damn stem. It wasn't a seed, but it was like a stem in the middle of it. I guess maybe it was a seed. They're great. They just wasn't any good. And so, anyway, I had a chat with her, by God. I told her to fix that door too. I about walk face first into that door every time I walk in, because my pace of walking, the sensor on it don't pick up in time. And so you're right there on it. before it starts to open. I have to hit the brakes, come to a complete stop before I can walk in there. I gave her my list of complaints today. But nevertheless, by God, she put me some grapes away, and they was there waiting on me when I got there. She's pretty good though. Her and my friend both. He'll hit me up sometimes, like, hey, I'm on some bait here or there, or wherever, and you know, he lets me know if he's on some skip, which is nice because a lot of people wouldn't do that, especially with it being me being a YouTuber and all. But I'm respectful of it too. Like, if he tells me, like the spot he told me about today, he tells me where they're at, I'm not going to go out there and burn that spot to the ground on video. You know, I'm going to be respectful of him. And he got burned with another YouTuber here in East Tennessee a while back. That YouTuber was apparently struggling to get skipjack too. And my buddy told him where they were at and how to catch them and just asked him not to do a video there. And he left. As soon as that conversation ended, that YouTuber went out there and filmed a video in that spot, exactly what he told him to do. I was like, man, that guy's burned everybody. It's your own damn fault. He's like, well, he hadn't ever done that to me before. I'm like, well, just a matter of time. I just ain't gonna do that to people, you know. Unless they tell me that they're okay with me filming there, which most people wouldn't tell me anything anyway, because the fact that I do film. And I mean, anybody that's from around here, like today, for instance, locals around here are going to know right where I put in. They'll recognize that ramp or marina or whatever. They'll see some house or tree in a background and know exactly where you're at. Like, that's part of doing YouTube. You're going to get burnt. And obviously today, I mean, we've not caught anything today that's going to make people be lined up out here to come fish where we're at. But there's been plenty of times where I've caught big fish. And as soon as that video posts, there's people on that spot all the time afterwards. Like, it's completely that's just part of doing YouTube. That's par for the course. Just something you're going to have to accept. And so, I mean, I'm at a point now where I've just kind of gotten accustomed to it, and I don't even really think about it anymore. When possible, I do try to keep my videos a little bit behind. I don't want to get so far behind with it that what's being done in the video isn't relative to what's going on. I mean, like what we're doing today, if you're watching this trying to figure out, well, how can I catch a few catfish in the winter, assuming we get on some today, which we have. I mean, I feel comfortable posting today's video with the number of fish we've caught, even though we haven't got any monster fish. We've got action. Somebody can probably benefit from it, but I want the content, what you're seeing here, I want it to be relative to the time frame that you're seeing it. So I don't want to get so far ahead on videos that you're seeing something that's, you know, if it's summertime, you don't want to be watching content filmed in the winter type thing. But I do want some cushion. And right now I'm a little behind. I'm only about a week ahead on videos, but I'd like to be ideally 2 weeks or so, and just give myself a cushion. That way, if I do get on a really good bite or get on some big fish in a certain spot or certain area, that I can go back and hit it a few times before I post the video and other fishermen, other YouTubers show up and start doing their videos there. But lately, the weather has been as such, and I've had some just lousy fishing days. I just haven't been able to really get myself back ahead. I'm hoping when I go down there to Florida again, if the weather's good every day, I'm hoping I can maybe get back on track a little bit. We'll see. I mean, it's any day I can fish, I'm going to fish down there. I'm not And once my girlfriend gets there, her and I will do some stuff in the evenings, you know, vacation type stuff. But she's pretty good about just laying on the beach while I fish during the day. She likes to lay there and read her books and stuff. So it really works out, her and I traveling together. And I wish she could go the whole damn week, but it is what it is. But the only thing that'll knock me out on the Florida trip would be either high winds or storms. And storms, I mean, unless it's an all-day thing, maybe you can work around it. But the wind, sometimes in the winter months down there, they get some really high winds. I know my friend Elias V Fishing, he was down there the month of December. I think he's still down there, actually, through today or tomorrow. And he lost a bunch of days fishing because of the wind and stuff. So it's just not much you can do kayak fishing when the wind is 20 plus. Like, you're just going to get, it's hard to function. It's hard to function in any vessel, really, but especially a kayak where you're just getting blown around real easily. Here's what I think I want to do, y'all. We've had a little while between bites. I'm not seeing that bait down there anymore. It seems like they've moved on. Let's slide off and go fish the bottom of the drop and see what's going on there. And then, if there's nothing going on at the bottom, let's just start making our way back. Start trolling back. So I haven't seen, I mean, we're getting bit out here, and I'm fine if we just continue to get bit to set here. But when we stop getting bit and we haven't got the big fish out here, got our biggest fish of the day out here, but you know what I mean, like nothing. We haven't got a wall hanger out here thus far. I think we just set out here, go out a little deeper. If it don't work out, we'll start making our way back. And I'm just looking right now. We're just going to go off to the drop here. We're kind of going up on the edge of one of those points at the moment, which is fine because we're moving and our baits are up in the water column because of the water resistance. We're not going to snag on anything. Dragon baits shouldn't snag anyway, but our suspend lines might. Okay, now we're going off the drop here. You can see we're falling off now. There's a fish on it too. There's some more bait. There's a fish above that school. There's one behind it, and there's a couple below it right there off that drop. Okay. Now I'm going to just hit spot lock right there. Right when we start to, you see how it go down the edge, and now it's going to just slowly, gradually, as somebody's shooting over there, we're going to try to get right there on that break line where we want. Get the camera in the chest. See if we can lower everything down. 48 feet now. Okay, get that down. Lower this one, we'll lower the others, and we'll just give it a few minutes. Just see what happens, see if we get bit, see if we see anything, any other bait fish, any other big fish, anything. Lord, I hope we don't have to listen to that very long. First I thought it might have just been them hunters we seen go by. I might have got Bambi, but must be somebody over there just target shooting or something, getting ready for the next Civil War. Hopefully they ain't shooting toward the water. That's one of those things, man. You hear the stories of it. People just, getting hit with a bullet that fell out of the sky, like where somebody had shot up in the air. It don't happen frequently, but the number of people killed by a stray bullet falling out of the sky every year, it's not zero. I don't know what the number is, but it's not zero. Same thing with like a part falling off an airplane and crashing through somebody's house. Like it don't happen often. It's just a freak chance thing when it does, but the number ain't zero. Here, somebody cranking up down there. Oh, there's somebody on the other side. I thought there'd be a bunch of bass fishermen out today. I wasn't sure as far as putting in this creek if we would be able to fish without a million people being back there, but the fact it's a weekday, I decided to go ahead and chance it. And kind of, at this point, thinking maybe it's a good idea, maybe it wasn't. On one hand, we have caught some fish. On the other hand, though, we haven't gotten anything big. And so maybe the smart play would have been to hit a different area. I feel like my logic was sound. But what the hell do I know? You can second guess yourself till you're blue in the face. Ultimately, you just got to go out, put some baits in the water, and get after it. You're in a spot here right now, these creek mouths and such, they're places that, I mean, I call them year-round places. There's never a bad time to fish a main channel ledge in front of a creek mouth, which is what we're at right here at the moment. Like, that's 7 days a week, 365. You're going to have a chance at busting big fish. Or even just getting some fish, just numbers of fish. Because you're going to have a chance. But anytime it don't work out, of course, it's just natural we second guess ourselves. Think, well, we should have done this, we should have done that, or tried a different bait or technique, whatever. And then that's always compounded, of course, when you go home and you get on social media and you start scrolling through and everybody else is posting pictures of fish they caught that day. Now, granted, it may be different bodies of water, different conditions they're fishing, but still, it's you know how it is. You've been there and done that. You've had a bad day of fishing, got skunked or something, then went and got on social media and saw everybody else catching fish. You know what it feels like. You know. I'm not telling you anything new here. But it's still a nice day to be out. It ain't often on a December 30th that you get an afternoon that's sunny, and it's supposed to be mid to high 50s, I guess, but honestly, it feels a little warmer with that sun on your skin. If it was cloudy or more windy, it would probably feel cooler, but it's nice out here today. And looking at the forecast of the weather we got coming, you got to appreciate a day like today. Even if you ain't getting the big fish, you still got to appreciate a day like today, because tomorrow when the wind's a hurricane and I ain't getting to go, and then after that, if I do go, it's going to be cold. And that's a big if, whether or not I'm going to. I'm going to get out at some point before I go to Florida for sure, though, and at least try them rod holder mounts on the links. We're going to try it. Maybe we'll get out and maybe take this light tackle rod and take another catfish rod and just... I'd feel better about that rod holder mount if we got hooked up on the light tackle rod first. See how it's going to do with that, and then step up to the heavier rod with the tighter drag. What the hell? Is that pelicans over there? Look at them going. Right off the top of the water, I should say. They're flying under radar, folks. That's like Tom Cruise Top Gun Maverick going in under radar. That movie, by the way, and granted, it's been out for a couple years now, but Top Gun Maverick, is that one of the best sequels of all time? Most of the time a sequel comes out and it's not as good as the original. Me and my girlfriend there, Christmas night, we watched the new Beetlejuice. And maybe some of y'all like the new Beetlejuice. I thought it was stupid. Not that the original Beetlejuice wasn't stupid, but it just didn't do it for me, folks. I was expecting more. It underperformed. But Top Gun Maverick, that was awesome. And I actually watched it again a few months ago, and it was great again the second time I watched it. You just don't get sequels like that very often. Most of the time, I feel like the sequels most of the time are just a money grab. They've taken a popular movie that they know people are into and would be willing to come back and buy another ticket for, and they'll get a lot of hype over it, and they do it, and they're just putting it out to put it out. But Top Gun Maverick, it delivered. I think that's one of the better sequels of all time. I'm not saying Top Gun Maverick's like the best movie of all time or anything, but I'm just saying as far as sequels go, I think it was pretty damn good. I mean, it's up there. One of the top ones ever. I ain't been watching much lately, though, as far as shows go. It's football season still, so, I mean, a lot of that. When I've watched YouTube, I've been into old wrestling matches, which I'm always into old wrestling matches, but lately I've been into Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude. I don't know why, but, you know, every once in a while I'll get into a certain wrestler and I'll just watch a bunch of their matches. And Rick Rude, oh, here we go, 48 feet. We had one hitting it. Is he on there? Does he have it? Oh, he does have it. He hit it. I thought he let it go. He was still there with it. That's a small one. I'm going to play him out just a little bit because we've dropped off so deep. Try to let him decompress on the way up. Don't want an incident like we had with the crappie with the catfish here. The bigger ones, they're going to fight a little more and take this one here. We could have, even on this lighter tackle, we could have horsed him all the way up. Fish, have you ever seen a Ravishing Rick Rude match before? This fish is he's so ignorant, he don't know who Rick Rude is. You're missing out. You talk about one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. I mean, Rick Rude in his prime, he had some, I forget what happened to him. He had some health problem. And he couldn't wrestle anymore. And he ultimately died young. And hell, I can't remember why he died. I can't remember if it was a heart attack or drug overdose. He died pretty young, though. But man, in his prime, there was like a 2 or 3 year window in Rick Rude's prime. Like he should have been, if he had been in a different generation of wrestling, I mean, of course, back when he was in his prime, that was Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. I mean, you had the big name stars, right? Like, if he had been in a different generation, he would have been the guy. Like, he would have been the champ. They'd have put the belt on him. But Rick Rude, man, looking back at him, you know, I remember him wrestling as a kid, but I didn't appreciate him back then. Now, as an adult, I watch his matches and I'm like, man, that guy, he could wrestle anybody. he was great on the microphone. And what was great about Rick Rude, like when he'd get on the mic, he had virtually the same promo every time he would take the microphone. Sure, he would change it to make it appropriate for whatever town he was in, whatever state. But it was the same promo all the time. And he would talk for maybe 30 seconds. And he would have everybody in the building booing him. All the men anyway. And the women would be going crazy because of how he looked. And the men would all be hating him. And it was 30 seconds. It was the same promo over and over again. But he was so good at it. If you ain't watched him, I mean, don't click off this video. But when this one's over, by gosh, go type in YouTube search box, Ravishing Rick Rude. Watch some of his matches and some promos, man. He was a star, a very underrated, underappreciated star of his time. His promos, though, man. I mean, he'd come out, and he had that look, man. I mean, he was clearly on the juice. He was roided up, but still, I mean, he had the look. He'd come out there, get on the microphone. He'd be like, what I'd like to have right now is for all you fat, ugly Alabama sweat hogs, keep the noise down while I take off my robe and show these ladies what a real man looks like. And then he'd take his robe off and do his hip thing. Fun fact, every night before bed, I give my girlfriend the same show. It ain't quite as good as Rick Rude, but I give her the show, folks. The Rude Awakening, he called it. But man, I mean, he was, and that would be all it would take, because he would change it wherever he was at. Like if he's in Alabama, it's Alabama sweat hogs. If he's in New York, it's New York nitwits. You know, he would just change one thing, just tweak it just a little bit for whatever town he's in to personalize it to them. And that's all it took. And he'd have so much heat on him, man. They'd be booing him. Meanwhile, the ladies, they'd be, you know, because I mean, he had the look. Like he's the Chip and Dale type look of the time, if you will. But the dude, in addition to his microphone skills, he could wrestle too, and he could have a match with anybody. So I've been going back and watching some of his stuff, and he was one of those wrestlers. I mean, I remember him as a kid, but I was too young to appreciate it at the time, I guess. He was one of those wrestlers, I guess, kind of like a Ric Flair type, that when I was a kid, I mean, I can remember being a real little kid, and my great-grandmother just cussing Ric Flair up one side and down the other. She hated him so bad. But as a kid, you know, I mean, Flair was the bad guy. And so you root against the bad guys as a kid. But as you get older, at least for me anyway, getting older, and you start looking back over the course of time, Ric Flair is probably my favorite wrestler easily of all time, now as an adult, even though he wasn't at any stage of my life my favorite wrestler at the time. And I guess that's tough to explain, but like when I was a real little kid, like 3, 4, 5 years old, like earliest memories type thing, watching wrestling with my grandma, I liked Kevin Von Erich because he wrestled barefooted. I like the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, you know, because that was, I mean, they were cool as a kid. And then as I got to be a little bit older kid, I don't know how old I was, 7, 8, 9 years old, whenever the Ultimate Warrior was hot. You know, I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan during his little run there. Then, of course, you get on up to teenage years and Stone Cold Steve Austin, D-Generation X, those guys. And even later on, when I was still trying to watch, you get like CM Punk when he did his pipe bomb promo there on Monday Night Raw. Like, that was awesome, you know. But all of those guys I meant, well, the Rock and Roll Express, they kind of stood the test of time, right? Like, they've They wrestled for 40 plus years, it seems like. But most of those guys I mentioned, Kevin Von Erich, when I was a kid, he was great, but he quit wrestling. Ultimate Warrior was the man for like 2 years, and then the candle burned out. You know, he was as quick as he came to the show, like he was gone. Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era, man, it seemed like that was a long time, but it really wasn't. There was about 2 years where he was, the hottest wrestler at the time, like drawing the most money and best ratings and stuff, but it didn't last long. Same with NWO. I was never a big Hulk Hogan fan as a kid. I wasn't into Hulkamania. I was an Ultimate Warrior type kid. But when I was a teenager and Hulk Hogan turned heel and became Hollywood Hogan, like that was awesome. I mean, I couldn't turn away from the screen. Like, holy cow, Hogan turned. Like it was so amazing at the time. But again, it was one of those things. It didn't last long. It was very short-lived. But now as an adult, when you look back at wrestling over the course of my lifetime, who were the constants? Who was on the top from the time I was little all the way up through me being an adult? It's Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Like he, in every promotion, from NWA to WCW, WWF, back to WCW, back to WWF again. Like he was the main event guy the whole way through. He could cut a promo. He could wrestle anybody. Like, I mean, he was the man. And at no point in my childhood or teenage years did I really appreciate Ric Flair. But as an adult, looking back on it, watching old matches and all that, like I really became a Ric Flair fan as an adult. Once I got to a point in time where you appreciate the body of work, everything that he's done. So anyway, I watch a lot of old wrestling matches nowadays on the YouTube and stuff while I'm killing time, either getting ready for bed or something, winding down on the day. I'll flip on YouTube, watch an old match. But lately I've been into Ravishing Rick Rude, been watching a lot of his old stuff. And I would say, he had a run, Rick Rude did. They even put the belt on him there in WCW at one point. That was kind of after I think Rick Rude, his best run would have been the late 80s, I guess, when he had more of the mullet hair, him wrestling Jake the Snake. That was probably his peak. And again, it was short-lived. It was a couple-year window there. But man, was he underrated. If you could have had peak Rick Rude in any other generation that didn't have a Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior type person, man, he would have been the guy. If you had Rick Rude modern day times, he'd be the champ. They'd put the belt on him and never take it off. How awesome would that be? Can you imagine if you had take a modern day person, you take a CM Punk and Rick Rude, like those two guys could have had a match, man. Or you talk about somebody that's being wasted in today's world, MJF in AEW. He's the best promo in modern day wrestling. And he can wrestle too. Totally being wasted though in that promotion. Like there's nobody, I don't watch AEW. The show's awful. I can't get into it. But MJF, he's a star. He's a star in any generation. But if you could have had a program where you had MJF and Ravishing Rick Rude, man, like that would be the bee's knees, man. And fun fact, for those of you following along with my midlife crisis, I do have a Ravishing Rick Rude action figure from the WWE Superstars lineup. I found that one actually when I went to Florida last time, I'd stopped off at a Walmart down there and they had him. So yes, I have a Ravishing Rick Root action figure. For those of you following the midlife crisis that I have been going through for months now, that's causing me to buy toys for some dumb, unknown reason that I can't figure out. All right, folks, we've set out here. We got that one dink out here off the bottom of this drop. There's really nothing happening. So let's reel up, go back up the top of this drop, and let's start trolling. The fact that we're not seeing anything out here off the bottom, I think our best play is going to be, what the hell have we done? How in the hell do we get all them lines tangled up here? Well, we had our front line up there, folks. With the shad, we had it back there on that rod somehow. I wonder if a fish didn't hit it. Now we've got it. How the hell did we do that? Dadgummit. I don't know how y'all have managed to tangle up. I don't know how y'all have managed to tangle up these lines like this, folks. We didn't even have a fish to tangle us up. Unless one carried that light tackle rod over there or something. The messes y'all get yourselves into without even having a fish is mind-boggling to me. But y'all managed to do it. I've never been snagged or hung up one time in my life. But it happens with you all every time I bring yous out here fishing with me. Lordy days. All right. We got it undone, though. Let's reel it up. I think our play is going to be the creeks. We're just not seeing anything out here on the graph off the drop. We know there's a ton of bait in the creeks. We were getting bit at least with small fish all the way out. If there's that many small fish back there, there's probably some bigger fish working back up in there too. So I think the play is, and this right here is what I'm talking about. You see this, folks? See how this got all, my leader got all wrapped up in my sinker and my main line here? This is kind of what I was talking about when you're trying to suspend or spot lock here, if you will, in a situation where you don't have current and you're using these dragging rigs, like they're just going to get caught. They're going to get wrapped up in that sinker and stuff. I don't normally like doing that, but I wanted to try it out since we're out here. Anyway, let's get back over here on top of the drop. We'll set everything back out. We'll troll our way back into this creek. The wind seems to have slacked off a little bit. Maybe we're just shielded from it out here, but either way, we'll be going into it if it does become a problem. So we won't have any issues controlling our speed on the way back. And we'll just start making our way back in here and try to come across some more fish, maybe some fish that were possibly back in here that just didn't pick up on our scent trail on the way out. It's certainly possible. Like I said, they move up in these creeks. They can go anywhere. But coming in and out, when they come out of the main channel working this creek, they're going to work up right through there, through that the old original creek beds where they're coming through. So if you put yourself in that type of place long enough, you're going to get bit. But I think I want to just get on the move. I think we were getting more fish the other day doing that. We were getting more fish coming out through here doing that. I think that's what I want to do. All right, let's see if we can. We got to go around another point up here to our right. We'll set us this way. Put our speed. You hear that loon over there? All right. fix this. Okay, there it went. Let's set this one out. Look at it going down. I'm gonna leave the crappie on. These pieces of crappie have been on a long time now, but it's like, do you want fresh crappie that's been out there a while now, or do you want 3-day-old shad? I'll take my chances with the crappie. And we'll still have our other shad up here on this suspended line. Now, as we make our way back, we'll have to be a little bit more mindful of these front rods because we're going to be moving shallower. On our way out through here, we were getting deeper progressively. So we had to lower our baits down occasionally to keep them near bottom, but we didn't have any fears of getting snagged, right? On the way back in, we're going to have to be careful because we may end up getting ourselves snagged if we come up 2 or 3 feet and we ain't paying attention. Come here, fish. There we go, that one. Another one on that top hook. I'll be ready to drop this one down. These shad right now are so easy to get, these thread fins. I don't know why anybody would want to go to the store and buy minnows, because you can get these shad in virtually all these creeks. Flip them bails over on our back rods. You can get them in virtually all these creeks. And when you throw out these thread fins, let's say you're crappie fishing, you're wanting to use a minnow or whatever, man, you're using the size of what's actually in the creeks. And there's some fish right there under us. Look at that, folks. See it right there? That red mark right there, that's a fish. We're going over some right now, and this is this point I'm talking about up here. It's on our rod, it's underwater. We're going to have to adjust and go around that there. Or we're going to come up, we're going to get everything snagged if we don't. I've got to follow, I'm trying to just follow the old creek channel around this point and back so it goes back in there that way. I may need to let out a little bit more line on these back rods, possibly. I am going to let out a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, folks, it's been a nice afternoon regardless out here. I want to catch us a big one, man. That's what I want. If we get one of these, we get a big one, I may give it a rude awakening. That's what Rick Rude would do. He'd have Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the best wrestling managers of all time. One of, if not the best. He's up there. I'm a Jim Cornette guy myself, but Bobby the Brain is definitely one of the best managers, one of the best commentators. Bobby the Brain Heenan's awesome. He managed Rick Rude during Rick Rude's peak. He'd bring a lady in out of the audience to get what was called the Rude Awakening, where Rick Rude would kiss the girl until she fainted. I assume they probably had the girl picked out ahead of time. It probably wasn't really at random that they were pulling somebody out of the crowd, but I bet you there was a lot of women back then that wished they were being chosen out of the crowd. One of the things I'd watched, I found it on YouTube too, was they had done I guess it was a promotional deal for a show, and they were on Regis and Kathy Lee. And Kathy Lee was like freaked out by Rick Rude, like she was running from him. It was weird. I'm like, I mean, you're a talk show host. You didn't do any research on your guest before they come in to the show? Like, you kind of know his routine. Like, you should play into it a little bit. And if you aren't comfortable playing into it, then let it be known you're not comfortable playing into it beforehand. So it's not weird. That whole segment was weird. It was awkward. The 80s were a wild time, y'all. When you get right down to it, when it's all said and done, someday, if I live to be an old man, and I'm looking back at my life, at the various generations, I think we're going to look back at the 80s as being a really wild time. I don't know that as much changed in the 80s as, the 90s we got computers, we got the internet. Certainly everything changes now at a really fast pace, it seems like. But in the 90s, we had computers, internets, cell phones. It seems like society and technology really, like, it was progressing all the way up through the 80s, but in the 90s, it just went way up. But I think the 80s, when you look back at it, it's a pretty wild time. And maybe it's just because I'm nostalgic for the 80s, because that's when I grew up. I mean, if I could go back, if I could pick any time period in my life to relive, I would go back to late 80s. Like 80, let's say 86 to 1990. That would put me 4 to 8 years old. Maybe do 89, like 4 to 7. Keep it in the 80s, you know. But that's the time period that I would want to relive. Life was so easy. I mean, I was a kid. All my meals were taken care of. Naps were celebrated. Naps weren't frowned upon. Nobody judged you for a nap as a kid. They were celebrated. I played with action figures. If I play with action figures now as an adult, people judge me. As a kid, that's just what you did. Spend all day outside, playing in the creeks and stuff. I mean, I kind of still do that now, but it's different back then. If I could go back in time, that's where I would go. If I ever end up with Alzheimer's or dementia or something, and I'm like, and I don't know what's going on around me in present day, I hope that's where I go back to. I watched a thing, I forget who was it? I don't remember who the guest was, which I don't ever remember those people anyway, but I can't remember who the host was now. Anyway, it don't matter. The bottom line was, we got a fish here first, I think. I thought we was about to get one. This line here is a little bit behind us because we're so deep and we're moving. We're not I see it on the screen, so I know we're down there where we want to be, but it's not vertical under us. That sinker's too light. I need a heavier sinker to keep it vertical under us. It'll be better once we get shallower. Anyway, this guy, he was convinced that Alzheimer's was type 3 diabetes, he was calling it. That it should be something that was curable through our diet. And I'm like, I don't know that I buy all that. I think that's a little hocus pocus. right there. Maybe it'll come out at some point in time like that, but that just don't seem. Some of these people that get on the internet and just spew out this stuff, it's like this fish here trying to spew out this piece of crappie back here. I think he's got it too, buddy. No, he don't now. He hit it. I thought he had it, but he let go. Let's let out some more line. Yeah, like if you just get on the internet and you say anything with confidence, there's going to be some people that are going to run with it. And who knows, maybe Alzheimer's does turn out to be something sugar related or have something to do with our body's insulin levels. I don't know. But this world we live in today, man, where people can just say something with confidence, it spreads like wildfire over the internet. You got to really watch yourself or you can get duped. It's like me coming on this internet today here and telling you what we were going to be doing to catch some fish today, and you think, man, this guy, he said it with confidence, it must be true, and then we come out here and we just catch dinks. You can't trust me or anybody else on the internet, folks. The one thing you can trust about me, maybe a little more than some, is the fact that now that I'm not doing any editing on these videos, like, you're not just seeing the highlights, man. You're seeing whatever happen. Like that damn crappie earlier. If I had pulled that crappie earlier and I'd been editing, I swear there'd be somebody would have thought I'd probably caught that crappie sometime before and he'd already been dead the way he acted. The hell, y'all saw everything from start to finish on it. But, so what you get with me is real. It may not always be accurate because I don't know what the hell I'm doing most of the time, but what you're getting is real, if nothing else. You're coming along on a real fishing trip, for better or worse. Today has been a good day. Numbers-wise, it's been a good day. Weather-wise, we're just missing our big fish. And I hope we get it on our way back up in here. I hope. I'm going to reel this up, just make sure we still got bait on here. Yeah, we do. All right. All right, there we go. All right. Get everything reset. Yeah, we might still bust a big one on the way back here. Once that sun gets over them trees, though, it's going to start to cool off. And if we ain't got a big fish by then, my motivation's going to be, it's going to be going with the sun. Go home and check on them damn cats I got. I've got an ongoing saga with these cats, folks. Y'all have been listening to this cat story for, well, I guess it's been about 2 months now. But if you knew, I'll catch you up with the Cliff's Notes version. This girl that used to live in front of me moved. She had all these cats. She was supposed to take them to the pound. She didn't. She left them there to starve. I had one of them rehomed with my friend, but I ended up taking a liking to it and talking my girlfriend into letting me keep it. Well, there was another one that was just skin and bones, and he's missing part of an ear, and he's just, he was so pathetic. I'm a sucker for a sick, starved animal. So I ended up taking him in too. So now I got 2 male cats in the house. And both of them are fully acclimated. One of them's actually goes outside most of the time, during the daylight hours anyway. But they're both acclimated to house life. And they hate each other's guts. Both are neutered, but they still fight all the time. And I can't blame just one of them for being the instigator, because they take turns being the instigator. Last night I'm sitting there, and one of them, I got 2 little cat beds for them, so they could each have one. And I'd hoped that they would sleep in them beds and leave Daphne the dog the hell alone, because what they had been doing, if Daphne was laying in her dog bed and one of them wanted it, they'd just go up and start smacking Daphne in the face till she moved, and then they'd take her bed. And the little black one will sleep with Daphne sometimes, but if it wants Daphne's bed, it's going to take it. And so I got them their own beds. Well, last night, one of them's laying in the bed, the little cat bed, the black one is, and the orange one is laying on the arm of the couch. Neither one of them are antagonizing the other. They're just chilling out. They're hanging out there. And the next thing I know, the black one leaps from his bed onto the back of the orange one and is just going to town on him. I mean, just no reason, unprovoked, just attacks. And like he's got him, like he's on his back, like biting him and stuff. They're like going at it. So I break that up and scold them both. You know, I give them a stern talking to, as any pet parent should do. And they're good for a little while. And then later on, I'm sitting there on the couch, and the couch has got a recliner part into it, so my feet's up. And one of them's on my lap, and the other one's down at my feet. And the next thing you know, hell, the orange one gets his retaliation because he pounces the black one, and he's got him wrapped up, and they're and whatnot. I'm like, you two got it made here in this house. You better learn to get along. Oh, right there. This fish ain't getting along with them shad, are they? It's down again. He took it down hard, but he's going to be really small. Blue kitty, come on down. Did you knock the other shad off too? He did. He ate one, knocked one off. I'm going to let it slide though, Blue kitty, because I got a bunch extra here. Why don't y'all use the net? Why are you trying to sit there and grab them with your hand for? I don't know why I keep doing that. I guess this to show off to you that I can catch a fish with my bare hands. Anybody can catch them with rod and reel. But to catch them with your bare hand here in this bucket, that's talent, folks. Drop it back down again. Back down it goes. Got us another one. We're going to make our way up through here. We're going to turn into this creek. Like I said, it loops around the old creek channel. Loops around here. I'll show you there on the graph. See, we were up there. We come around this point. Now we're looping. We're going to go into the creek here. So that's why we're doing things how we are. But yeah, these damn cats just keep fighting. And I don't know how to make them get along. They may never get along, being two male cats. I took a liking to both of them, though. My girlfriend, who hates cats, she's allegedly allergic to them, but she gets shots for allergies, so that helps. But the little black cat, well, it ain't so little anymore. It's gotten fat being in the house. It loves my girlfriend. Like, it will Everywhere she goes, that cat is with her. It hardly wants anything to do with me, but it loves my girlfriend. She, and my girlfriend won't admit it, but she likes that cat. Me, on the other hand, I kind of like the orange one more because he's more friendly to me. And, of course, his ear's messed up. He's missing half of an ear from where he was out living a hard life before he got to move in with me. I want them to get along, but I don't know how to make it happen. And I'll tell you this, I'm very concerned about going back to Florida because the way them cats destroyed the house the last time I was gone, I'm a little concerned about it, especially both of them being in there together. If it was just one of them in there by themselves, they would probably be okay, but both of them in there together, not liking each other, and the fact that the black one's not going to get to go outside very much while I'm gone. My mom will go over there and check on the place and be able to let him out for a little while and stuff, but it was a disaster last time. Of course, I was gone last time like 10 days. This time, well, my girlfriend will be there because she's not leaving out. Oh, fish. Oh, that was a better takedown right there. Boy, the light tackle, man. This one's pulling too, buddy. This one's pulling. This got all but one fish today. No, two. We got the other one out there on the crappie head. All but two fish on the light tackle. Damn good thing I brought this rod, or we wouldn't be getting a video today, folks. This light tackle rod saved the day. Another small, but man, it's another bite, and it's a bite we couldn't. Well, I mean, he could have eat one of the other baits potentially, but he would have had a harder time eating the bait and getting the hook, being the size that he is. And he definitely wouldn't have been any fun on the other rods, for sure. All right, get on out of here, fishy. All right. Well, folks, done it again there. We done got us another one. Oh, hell, we've put that. I need to move this net. I keep putting the hooks in the net every time I unhook a fish. We unhook a fish and hook a net. There we go. I think that other shad up there is dead, but I'm going to leave him on for the time being. I don't think it matters if they're alive or dead or not, really. They're the right size, and they're down there. But yeah, this time, those cats won't be alone for 10 days this time. Because my girlfriend will be there up until, well, that Wednesday when she leaves. And then I'll be back home either that Saturday or probably the Sunday. So they won't be gone. Hopefully they won't feel abandoned with us only being gone 3 to 4 days. But them damn things can probably do a lot of damage in 3 to 4 days. I won't leave Daphne's dog bed out again, that's for sure. They won't have an opportunity to piss on it because it will be gone. And I'll have the furniture covered. Somebody had told me you put aluminum foil on the furniture or anything you don't want a cat on and they won't get on it. I don't know if that's true, but it's worth buying a roll of aluminum foil to try out to keep them off the couch while I'm gone. So we'll be trying that. But yeah, I'm a little concerned that they're just never going to get along. They're just going to fight every single day. And I can't blame it on one or the other because they both take their turns being the instigator. I've seen it with my own eyes, just be sitting there. The last night, prime example, where you've got each one of them took a turn attacking the other one for no good reason. They may have had a reason for something that happened earlier in the day that I didn't know about, but they took their opportunity when the other one was least expecting it. Them cats got it made, though. They hit the lottery with me, really, because they went from being literally starving. I mean, the orange one especially, he was skin and bones. My channel members saw him before I brought him in. I do the members videos around the house and stuff, and they had seen that orange cat, how pitiful he was before I brought him in. I mean, he was literally starving. And he's put on a bunch of weight. The black one's gotten fat. The orange one is up to a more normal weight now. But he looks better. His fur looks better. Like he's just... Both those cats are living their best life now. Daphne the dog, on the other hand, she's something else. She's at my parents' right now, as a matter of fact. They give me a break from her for a little while because she'd made me so mad when she ran off again recently. She gets out of my house, but she's gone. It ain't like a normal dog that'll go sniff around the neighborhood, pee on some trees, and then come back home. Like, she just won't come back home. She'll just keep going and going and going and going. She ended up about a mile away this time before somebody got hold of her and stuck her in their garage. Thankfully, all the people around me, they always call when she ends up in somebody's yard or something, but it's just, I keep hoping she's going to outgrow it, but every time I think she's gotten better and gives me a little hope, she just reverts back to her old self. So anyway, my parents took her, give me a little break from her for a few days. Much needed, too. And of course, they'll be watching her while I go to Florida, too. She'll be down there at the grandparents'. She got out on them. I don't know if it was, I think it was when I went to Florida. It was, yeah. It was when I went to Florida. She got out on them. I think. Or maybe it was the cat. The cat ran off, too. The black cat ran off. Maybe it was one of the other trips that Daphne got. Anyway, Daphne got out down there at her house. And she was gone for a few hours. She went on a little walkabout around their neighborhood, too. That dog, I'm telling you, if she sees a way out, she's taking it. And she don't cause no problems when she goes places. I mean, she just sniffs around. If she comes up on another dog, she's going to play. She's not being destructive to people's property. She's not attacking anybody else's dogs. The problem is just the fact she won't come back. Like, if she would just get out and run around for 30 minutes to an hour and then come home, no problem. She just don't come home. I don't know how you fix it. I don't think you can fix it, actually. I think it's just a dog's either going to come home or they ain't. And maybe she would, like maybe eventually, maybe she would turn around and come home. But never had the opportunity to really try because there's always some good Samaritan neighbor that's going to take her in. Actually, there's a guy up the road that lives up the road from me. She's ran off to his house so many times. He just brings her home now. He don't even bother calling. He just loads her up in the car and brings her home. I talk a lot of crap about my neighbors, but all the neighbors I've met have been pretty good, except for the people right beside me, and I hate those people with a passion. Like, I mean, I despise them, and they're the closest neighbors to me, and they are awful. But everybody else, everybody that Daphne's run off to, like, they're great. Like, everybody's been real nice and everything. But the people right beside me, I can't stand. And the fella that used to be on the other side of me, he ended up dying. I couldn't stand him either. He died. But most of my other neighbors now they're pretty good. That sun's starting to drop over there, folks. It's starting to get behind them trees, and I am already feeling the temperature change. We'll just keep making our way back here in this creek toward the car. You can still see there, look right down here at this bait. There's another big school bait. About 25 feet deep right there. That solid line right there on bottom, the transducer picking up one of our baits. And then that is the school of shad. There's allegedly an old submerged bridge right there you'll see on the graph. We won't find any remnants when we go across it, but allegedly there back in the day. Oh, hell, my battery's about dead, y'all. God almighty, have we really been out here 4 hours already? It don't seem like it. The battery's, it's flashing red on there. It's about dead. Well, I may be fishing a little longer than y'all are today, I guess, because I'm going to have to cut this thing off before it dies, or it's just going to die abruptly. What the hell is coming behind me here? Oh, we got them John boats that went out. I guess they were racing or something. Here they come again. Yeah, folks, I guess we're going to wrap it up here. Our session, I'm going to fish till, I'll probably give it another 30 minutes or so. We probably got 30 more minutes of good daylight and before it gets too cold. What the hell? I guess they're both coming back here in this creek, folks. We're about to... I'm fishing right here in the... I'm fishing in the back. Oh, there's a fish too right there. Let's close out the video on a fish, why don't we? As these boats go by. I'm right here in the middle of the damn creek fishing as they move through. At least they're giving some space here going around. There's another one here on the light tackle, man. I think we can sit here. If we'd had us 2 light tackle rods today, if we'd had 2 light tackle rods out, we'd have probably caught double the fish. Because I think we could have sat here and just kept catching them. Unfortunately, they've all been small, but at least it's been some action. That there's got a spot on him. At least we've had some action today, though. Compared to some of the days where we've just been sitting here twiddling thumbs waiting on an occasional bite, like it's been that part's at least been fun. But let's close it out on that fish there, folks. Like I said, my battery's going to die here in the next few minutes probably, so we'll just call it quits. I'm going to fish for another 30 minutes or so until it gets a little darker out here. Just keep making my way back, and yeah. Y'all, we've got water spots all over the lens too. Hopefully that ain't been a problem for y'all today, but nevertheless, it is what it is. These videos are always a cluster every time we fish together, but it's been fun. We've caught some fish, and we've enjoyed a nice day here together. So hopefully there'll be another video or 2 before I go to Florida, but it's very possible the next video you see from me, we're back down there in sunny and 75 weather, and I'm looking forward to it. Either way, I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming with me today.